First off, we have Wendy Williams. When Beyonce was set to release her HBO special Life is But a Dream, Wendy Williams was quick to say, quote, "I am a Beyonce fan. I'm gonna watch her upcoming documentary because fortunately one of the TVs in our kitchen has closed captioning, so I'll be able to understand what she says." The audience began laughing nervously before Williams went in for the kill. Quote, "You know Beyonce can't talk. She sounds like she has a 5th grade education." This did not go over so well with Williams' audience, who responded with several boos. "Excuse me, I just said I was a fan," she said, "but we have to call a spade a spade." Williams' comments did not go over well with the Beyonce fans. It was also picked up by several media outlets who reported on Wendy's commentary. Next up, we have Azealia Banks. Azealia has a lot to say about everything and anything except her own music that apparently is not doing too well. In 2016, following the release of Beyonce's award-winning album Lemonade, Banks was quick to respond to writer Ta-Nehisi Coates' praise of the singer's work. "Don't think for a second that Beyonce was intelligent enough to come up with any of those ideas on her own," she tweeted. But there is an update on the Azealia Banks Beyonce drama, as just a few days ago, Azealia made another comment about her. Beyonce announced the details of her new album Renaissance Act 2 during a Verizon advertisement during Sunday's Super Bowl. As soon as the advert concluded, Beyonce released the project's first 2 singles, Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages, and the banjo twang of the former and the slow pacing of the latter both seem to confirm ongoing speculation Beyonce was planning on releasing a country album. But now Azealia has spoken up, warning her fellow performer that she was making a big mistake. In an Instagram stories post, she said about the new material, quote, "There's nothing country about it. You're setting yourself up to be ridiculed again. There's a theatrical element to country music. Them critics are not just going to accept an ugly blonde wig and bullying from Jay-Z. It's giving big time musical grift." Yikes. She continues by saying, "Yes, black girls can make country music, but you're just really not hitting the button." Next up, we have Kid Rock. The born free and cowboy rocker threw some serious shade at Beyonce in an interview with Rolling Stone that he is, quote, "flabbergasted by the attention that she receives. Beyonce to me doesn't have an effing purple rain, but she's the biggest thing on earth," he said. "How can you be that big without at least one Sweet Home Alabama or old time rock and roll? People are always like, Beyonce's so hot, she's got a nice butt. Well, I'm into skinny white chicks. Doesn't really effing do much for me." Yikes. Beyonce has not responded to Kid Rock's offensive remarks. However, the Beehive, Beyonce's fan base, has taken action to defend their Grammy award-winning queen in a way only the Beehive could, by flooding Kid Rock's Instagram page with bee emojis. Kid Rock then responded by posting a photo of bee repellent. Yikes. Our next Beyonce hating celeb is Donald Trump. Former President of the United States, Donald Trump, is not in the good books of many celebrities, Beyonce included. In 2016, when he was running for office, he did not have most celebrities' support. And if his 2019 Minneapolis rally speech is anything to go by, he didn't need them, he says. At the rally, Trump sent some words in the direction of Beyonce and Jay-Z, who rallied behind Hillary Clinton in 2016. "I didn't need Beyonce and Jay-Z," Trump said, quote by quote. Alright, next we have Piers Morgan, the British reporter. When Beyonce released Lemonade in 2016, Azealia Banks was not the only celebrity who wasn't pleased with her. In a Daily Mail article, Morgan criticized Beyonce, referring to her as militant. In a tweet sharing the article, Piers Morgan says, "I prefer the old Beyonce, the one who didn't use grieving mothers to shift records and further fill her already massively enriched purse." Morgan also recalls interviewing Beyonce at President Barack Obama's inaugural ball in 2008 and meeting a, quote, bright, warm, funny, sharp star. A bright, warm, funny, sharp star who pains to be seen as an entertainer and musician and not as a black woman who sings. He remembers the singer when asked if she ever experienced racism in her childhood, saying, "I feel like with my career, I've now broken barriers. I don't think people think about my race anymore. It's not about color and race, and I'm happy that's changing. Now it seems to be the complete opposite, Morgan writes. The new Beyonce wants to be seen as a black woman political activist first, entertainer and musician second. He cites her popular music video for Formation, which contained references to Black Lives Matter, and her Super Bowl halftime performance, which alluded to the Black Panthers. Morgan questions Beyonce's intentions for showing the grieving mothers of Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin in her video for Lemonade, contending that both women were exploited, he says, to promote her album. I have huge personal sympathy for both women, and there's no doubt that African Americans have been treated appallingly by certain rogue elements within the country's police forces, he writes, but I felt very uneasy watching these women being used in this way to sell Beyonce's album. It smacks of shameless exploitation. Next up we have Rihanna. Rihanna better get to hiding under that umbrella because the rumors of her feud with Queen Bee are pouring down. While the two play nice in front of the cameras, it is very clear that Riri isn't feeling Beyonce at times. Apparently the work singer wants Jay-Z back, and that is why she sometimes casts shade. Rihanna and Jay-Z have known one another since 2004, when the young singer from Barbados was called into the offices at his company, Def Jam Records. Rihanna has since admitted to being incredibly nervous about meeting him and told The Guardian in 2007 that she did not get nervous until she was actually face to face with the man who would change her life. As Rihanna put it, I was like, oh god, he's right there, I can't look, I can't look, I cannot look. Before Beyonce married Jay-Z, Rihanna and him were constantly seen in paparazzi photos looking pretty cozy with one another. To further fan the hate flame, Rihanna also favorited a tweet once that alluded to the idea that Rihanna was better than Beyonce. Next up we have 50 Cent. 50 Cent has never come out and said the words I hate Beyonce, but during multiple interviews over the years, the rapper has implied he's not the biggest fan of Queen Bee or even her husband Jay-Z. Speaking to People in 2015, 50 Cent defended the Grammys' decision to award Album of the Year to Beck over Beyonce, saying, quote, Beck produced his record, he wrote the record. There's 11 producers on Beyonce's album. That is a fair analysis and not necessarily an insult towards her, but let's dig a little deeper. A year prior, as Beyonce and Jay-Z tried to move on from leaked security footage showing Beyonce's sister Solange attacking Jay-Z in an elevator, 50 Cent publicly recalled a time that Beyonce allegedly confronted him inside a Las Vegas nightclub. One time, Beyonce jumped off of a ledge and came running over because she thought me and Jay were having issues, he told radio station Power 105. And I'm like, what the F? Did she really just jump and run up on me like that? She bugged out at me, he says. Next up, we have the controversial Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, took issue with Beyonce's 2016 Super Bowl halftime show. During the performance, she debuted her single Formation and paid homage to the Black Panthers, Malcolm X, and the Black Lives Matter movement. Giuliani interpreted her show as an affront to law enforcement. This is football, not Hollywood, he told Fox and Friends after the big moment. I thought it was really outrageous that she used it as a platform to attack police officers who are the people who protect her and protect us and keep us alive. Giuliani argued that the Super Bowl is for middle America and that the NFL should be providing, quote, decent, wholesome entertainment to that audience rather than political messages. Giuliani's criticism of Beyonce received some really bad reviews of their own. Included on that list, former Destiny's Child group member Kelly Rowland, who said in an interview with Us Weekly that Giuliani should just shut up. Next up, we have Etta James. Beyonce earned arguably the best reviews of her movie career playing legendary singer Etta James in the 2008 movie Cadillac Records. She even attended the Los Angeles premiere of the movie with Etta James, suggesting the two were on friendly terms, at least professionally, but apparently that was not the case. During a 2009 concert, Etta, who died in 2012 sadly, made it very clear she was not happy about Beyonce singing her iconic song At Last at President Barack Obama's inaugural ball in 2009. She says, "I tell you, that woman he had singing for him, singing my song, she's gonna get her ass whipped." A 71-year-old James reportedly told a stunned crowd, "The great Beyonce. No, I can't stand Beyonce. She had no business being up there singing on a big old President Day and gonna be singing my song that I have been singing forever." Lastly, we have actress Sana Lathan, who was accused of flirting with Jay-Z and biting Beyonce in the face. Yes, you heard that right. Comedian Tiffany Haddish told GQ that an unnamed actress was getting too close for comfort to Jay-Z at a party. So Beyonce allegedly intervened, and by intervened, we mean she supposedly said, "Jay, come here, this B word," and snatched him. At least that's how Tiffany remembers it. Tiffany said one of Beyonce's friends later told her that this B word just bit Beyonce. Wow. First off, we have the 2024 Grammys. While Jay-Z was accepting his award, he took his mic time to look at his wife Beyonce in the audience and ask the Grammys why they have never given her Album of the Year. People were stunned, and so was Beyonce. Body language expert Etta James told The Mirror that Beyonce tried to hide her facial expressions with her white hat during her husband's acceptance speech. The expert believes that, quote, "a loyal husband can be a dangerous thing, no matter how much they show love, plus an intrinsic drive to defend and protect." Judy shared that most women of today's era would prefer to stand up for themselves. Quote, "You can argue Jay-Z has his heart somewhere in the right place in terms of velour, but Beyonce's frozen-looking symmetric smile seems to hint that she might just be feeling as mortified as many women would," she added. Judy shared, "Moaning about not getting an award means next year's awards will be poignant for Beyonce. If she fails again, she'll be hurt. But if she wins it, the hint will be that Jay-Z nailed it for her, rather than her own talent." Beyonce holds the record of winning the most Grammys ever, however, she has never received the Album of the Year award. Next up, we have Jay-Z's cheating scandal. In 2013, rumors came out that the rapper had been cheating, and then there was #ElevatorGate that trended when Solange Knowles attacked Jay-Z while sister Beyonce stayed silent. More recently, Jay-Z's album 444 alluded to him being unfaithful. He wrote, "Look, I apologize, often womanize, took for my child to be born to see through a woman's eyes." The rapper and Beyonce had planned to do a joint album, but ended up doing solo records instead. "We were using our art mostly like a therapy session, and we started making music together. And then the music she was making at that time was further along. So her album came out as opposed to the joint album that we were working on." Next up, we have the Lance Rivera situation. In 1999, Jay-Z was arrested for, let's just call this, putting a knife into the young record executive Lance Rivera. Jay-Z believed Rivera distributed bootlegged copies of his then unreleased album, The Life and Times of S. Carter, which was not supposed to hit stores until later. After committing the crime, Jay-Z turned himself into the police, accompanied by his lawyer. A witness to the altercation said Jay-Z walked up to Rivera and said, "Lance, you broke my heart." Rivera responded with, "What?" before Jay-Z pulled out the knife, according to the witness. Jay-Z pled guilty and faced a 3-year sentence of probation. Next, we have the fact that Jay-Z was a substance dealer, we'll call it, in his teenage years. Speaking to Vanity Fair, Jay-Z opened up about his past, admitting that he was dealing substances to make ends meet. "It was everywhere. It was inescapable. There wasn't any place you could go for isolation or a break," he said in an interview. "You go in the hallway, there are people using in the hallway. You look out in the puddles on the curbs, everywhere." Jay-Z admitted that while he made a living selling substances, he never once used them. Jay-Z claimed that he did learn some of the business practices he does today from his time dealing the substances. "I know about budgets. I was a dealer. To be in a deal, you need to know what you can spend, what you need to re-up." Next up, let's talk about Jay-Z suing Rita Ora for alleging that she still owed 4 more albums. Famous singer Rita Ora was sued by Jay-Z's album label Roc Nation, with Ora alleging the company lost interest after they focused their attention on other ventures such as streaming service Tidal and also a sports management company. Roc Nation's claim they sunk millions into Rita's career and that she owes them 4 more albums. Ora signed with Roc Nation in 2008 while she was an unknown artist and agreed to deliver 5 albums and has only produced 1. Ora's attorney Howard King said Jay-Z promised Ora, quote, total freedom from the label. In a statement, King believes that Sony Music made Roc Nation file the action to preserve whatever rights Sony had. Roc Nation alleged it was a breach of contract and they demanded $2 million plus be given back along with unspecified damages for the 4 undelivered albums. The lawsuit was settled between the two parties, with Rita Ora possibly signing with a new music label. Next, let's discuss Jay-Z being arrested for gun possession. In April of 2001, Jay-Z and 3 other men were arrested outside a Manhattan nightclub and held on charges of illegal gun possession. Police said that Jay-Z was detained when his bodyguard Hamza Hewitt was allegedly found with a firearm in his waistband. Hewitt, Jay-Z, and 2 other individuals were all charged with 3rd-degree criminal possession. The case was delayed until October 2001 when Jay-Z entered a plea of not guilty and was found not to have been part of the possession, but did face 3 years probation for his 1999 incident with Rivera, which we just talked about. Jay-Z also went under fire for his decision to host his famous Oscars after party in 2022 at the controversial Chateau Marmont Hotel. Every year, the rapper hosts one of the starriest parties of the night, known as the Gold Party, with attendees in previous years including Rihanna, Reese Witherspoon, Kanye West, and Kim K. His last party, which was held pre-pandemic in 2020, was at the Chateau Marmont. But Jay-Z's plans to throw the 2022 event in a lounge space at the Sunset Strip Hotel have been met with criticism due to an ongoing boycott of the property by some of its workers and celebrity guests over alleged racial discrimination at the venue. Kurt Peterson, the boss of workers union Unite Here Local, said in a statement, quote, for Jay-Z to choose the Chateau Marmont for the Gold Party is shockingly insensitive. They must move their event and choose an after-party hotspot that treats its workers, especially black women, with dignity and respect. Jay-Z has a responsibility to do better, he added. We hope Jay-Z joins Gabrielle Union, Issa Rae, Quinta Brunson, Ashley Nicole Black in boycotting Chateau Marmont. The union even organized a picket line outside the bash beginning at 8 p.m. the night of the party. In 2020, The Hollywood Reporter published an investigation of allegations against the Chateau Marmont, with employees claiming that black and Latino visitors were stopped and questioned when they were arrived more than white guests, claims that were confirmed by a representative for comedian Tiffany Haddish. The Chateau's law firm said at the time that workplace issues are regularly raised, as at any business, and swiftly investigated and addressed, adding that a whistleblower line is in place for employees to report issues or concerns directly to outside integrity counsel. Next, let's discuss 4040, Jay-Z's old nightclub. His nightclub 4040 was reported to have bounced checks. In 2003, reports claimed that 2 companies filed separate lawsuits against Jay-Z's nightclub for a total of $46,000 in unpaid bills to the 2 businesses that complained, claiming that they received rubber checks from 21's Inc., the rapper's company. Ronald Mark Associates was to be paid $18,000 for manufacturing 30 custom tables, but only received $5,000. Ron Berkowitz, a spokesman for 4040, downplayed the allegations, claiming the bouncing checks are a bum rap. Berkowitz said one suit was settled for $8,000 on November 2nd, 2003. The second lawsuit was without merit, but said they were countersuing Ronald Mark Associates after they couldn't deliver tables as promised before before the opening night. The next point is a bit shocking. Jay-Z reportedly SHOT his own brother when Jay-Z was only 12 years old. He said he did it because his brother stole one of his rings. How did he get the firearm? I went to someone's crib, someone's house, and got it, Jay-Z said, explaining how easy it was at the time to acquire a firearm. They were everywhere. You didn't have to go far to get one, they were just everywhere. After doing this to his brother, he believed he was going to jail, but his sibling refused to press charges and ended up apologizing to his brother because he was an addict. It was terrible. I was a boy, a child. I was terrified, he said in the interview. Lastly, let's discuss how he reportedly punched a female fan in 1999 at one of his concerts. Yikes. In footage from Jay-Z's concert film, Backstage, a scene from part of the film shows Jay-Z striking a young female fan back in 1999. The rapper appears to slap and then push her in front of him as he walks down a corridor with his entourage. A spokeswoman for the rapper says that the footage was being taken out of context. Speaking to the New York Daily News, she said, quote, "The person in that video is someone who he's worked with for years and they are very, very close. And for it to be exerted like that is an insult." Next up, we have Azealia Banks. Azealia has a lot to say about everything and anything, except her own music that apparently is not doing too well. In 2016, following the release of Beyonce's award-winning album Lemonade, Azealia was quick to respond to writer Ta-Nehisi Coates' praise of Beyonce's work. I don't think for a second that Beyonce was intelligent enough to come up with any of those ideas on her own, she tweeted. But there's an update on the Azealia Banks Beyonce drama, as just a few weeks ago, Azealia made another comment about her. Beyonce announced details of her new album, Renaissance Act 2, during the Super Bowl, and as soon as the advertisement concluded, Beyonce released the project's first two songs, Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages. And the banjo twang of the former and the slow pacing of the latter both seem to confirm ongoing speculation that Beyonce was planning on releasing a country album. Now, Azealia Banks has spoken up, warning her fellow performer that she was making a huge mistake. In an Instagram stories post, she said about the new material, quote, "Nothing country about it. You're setting yourself up to be ridiculed again. There's a theatrical element to country music. The critics are not going to accept an ugly blonde wig and bullying from Jay-Z. It's giving big-time musical grift." Yes, black girls can make country music, she continued, but you're just really not hitting the button. Our next point is not about a celebrity, but actually about a movement that's insane. There's a movement going around for the last decade that believes that Beyonce is associated with the Illuminati and is trying to take down America. Beyonce and her husband Jay-Z have long been the subject of conspiracy theories and wild fantasies. The idea is that the two are members of the Illuminati and are secretly ushering a revolution, a new world order, and brainwashing the public through their music videos and dance routines. Untangling the complexities of the Illuminati conspiracy would require its own video, but in a nutshell, conspiracy theorists allege that the world is run by an ancient cabal of cultists who communicate through secret signals, sometimes concealed within the music videos. But it's a bit weird that these supposedly all-powerful celebs can't just speak privately or send text messages to, but essentially that is the idea. For several years, Jay-Z has, during his performances, made a hand signal that forms a triangle. This is supposedly meant to represent a diamond and has become synonymous with Jay-Z and his record label. Occasionally though, Beyonce will also flash this hand signal, likely in support of her husband. Thus, conspiracy theorists believe that both Jay-Z and Beyonce are in the Illuminati. Next up, let's discuss Beyonce's fake pregnancy. TMZ alleged that Beyonce's 2011 pregnancy was fake. I know it sounds insane, but in 2011, the internet was buzzing with rumors that Beyonce was not really pregnant and that she was wearing a fake stomach in an elaborate cover-up scheme. A controversial video actually went viral online, and that even fueled the fire more. Beyonce appeared on an Australian TV show called Sunday Night wearing a tight red dress that accentuated her baby bump. But when she sits down in her chair, her baby bump appears to collapse inward, leading leading many to believe that it's not her real stomach after all, but a prosthetic device intended to deceive. But why would she be fake pregnant? There were rumors that she had hired a surrogate mother to carry the kid, so she didn't have to put her body through the strains of being pregnant. Next up, we have Kid Rock. The born free and cowboy singer threw some serious shade at Beyonce in an interview with Rolling Stone, published a few years ago after the release of his new album, First Kiss. He told Rolling Stone he is, quote, flabbergasted by the attention she receives. Beyonce to me doesn't have an effing purple rain, but she's the biggest thing on earth, he says. How can you be that big without at least one Sweet Home Alabama? People are like, Beyonce's hot. She got a nice butt. I'm like, cool. I like skinny white chicks. Doesn't really do much to me. Beyonce has not responded to Kid Rock's very offensive remarks. However, the Beyonce fans have taken action to defend their Grammy Award-winning queen in a way only Beyonce fans could, by flooding Kid Rock's Instagram page with bee emojis. And then Kid Rock posted a photo of bee repellent. Yikes. Next up, we have Piers Morgan. When Beyonce released Lemonade in 2016, Azalea Banks was not the only celebrity who wasn't pleased with her. In a Daily Mail article, Piers Morgan criticized Beyonce by calling her militant. In a tweet sharing the article, Morgan said, quote, I prefer the old Beyonce, the one who didn't use grieving mothers to shift records and further fill her already massively enriched purse. Morgan also recalls interviewing Beyonce at President Barack Obama's inaugural ball and meeting a very bright, warm, funny, sharp star that pains to be seen as an entertainer and a musician and not as a black woman who sings. He remembers the singer when asked if she ever experienced racism in her childhood, saying, I feel with my career I've broken barriers. I don't think people think about my race anymore. Now it seems to be the complete opposite, Piers says. The new Beyonce wants to be seen as a black woman activist first and foremost, and then entertainer and musician second. He then questions Beyonce's intentions for showing the grieving mothers of Mike Brown and Trayvon Martin in her video for Lemonade, contending that both women were exploited to promote the album. Next up, let's discuss Solange Knowles, Beyonce's sister. In a viral video years and years ago, Solange was seen hitting Beyonce's husband Jay-Z in an elevator after he allegedly cheated on Beyonce. Jay-Z's album 444 alluded to him being unfaithful. He wrote, look, I apologize, I often womanize, took for my child to be born to see through a woman's eyes. The rapper and Beyonce had planned to do a joint album years ago, but ended up doing solo records instead. We were using our art almost like a therapy session, and we started making music together. And then the music that she was making at the time was further along, so her album came out as opposed to the joint album that we were working on. Next up, we have 50 Cent. 50 Cent has never come out and said the words I hate Beyonce, but during multiple interviews over the years, the rapper has implied he's not the biggest fan of Queen Bee or her husband Jay-Z. Speaking to People in 2015, 50 Cent defended the Grammys' decision to award Album of the Year to Beck over Beyonce's album, saying Beck produced his own record. He wrote it. There's 11 producers on Beyonce's album. That is a fair analysis and not necessarily an insult, but let's dig a little deeper. A year prior, as Beyonce and Jay-Z tried to move on from leaked security footage showing Beyonce's sister Solange attacking Jay-Z in an elevator, 50 Cent publicly recalled a time Beyonce allegedly confronted him inside a Las Vegas nightclub. One time, Beyonce jumped off of a ledge and came running over because she thought me and Jay-Z were having issues, he told a radio station. And I'm like, what the F? Did she really just bump and run up on me like that? She bugged out at me. Next up, we have Etta James. Beyonce earned arguably the best reviews of her entire movie career playing legendary singer Etta James in the 2008 flick Cadillac Records. She even attended the Los Angeles premiere of the movie with Etta James, suggesting that the two were on friendly terms, at least professionally. Apparently, this was not the case. During a 2009 concert, Etta James, who died in 2012, made it very, very clear she was not happy about Beyonce singing her iconic 1961 song At Last at President Barack Obama's inaugural ball in 2008. I tell you, that woman he had singing for him, singing my song, she's gonna get her butt whipped. ripped, she says. The great Beyonce, I cannot stand her. Etta James said Beyonce has, quote, no business being up there singing on a big ol' President Day and singing my song that I have been singing forever. Lastly, we have Rihanna, who allegedly has some beef with Queen Bee. Apparently, the work singer wants Jay-Z back, and that is why she is casting some shade. Rihanna and Jay-Z have known one another since 2004, when the young singer from Barbados was called into the offices at Def Jam Recordings, where Jay-Z worked as the president. Rihanna has since admitted to being incredibly nervous about meeting him and told The Guardian in 2007 she didn't actually get nervous until she was face to face with the man who would change her life. As she put it, I was like, oh god, he's right there, I can't look. I can't look. Before Beyonce married Jay-Z, Rihanna and him were constantly seen in paparazzi photos looking pretty cozy with each other. To further fan the hate flame, Rihanna also favorited a tweet once that alluded to the idea that she was better than Beyonce.
At number 10, we have 7 limousines. Starting off strong with her gigantic and expensive entourage to walk 3 city blocks. Apparently, she was staying at the Metropolitan when she decided to walk to the Dorchester restaurant, which was 3 blocks away. Instead of having her personalized bodyguards or a small group of people to keep her safe, she insisted she hire 7 limos so she could travel the 200 yards from point A to point B without being bothered. Afterwards, she claimed that exercise and working out is something that makes her the happiest in life. Like walking 200 yards with a full entourage is truly exercising. The entire situation is so bizarre and out of touch, you can't help but recognize it as diva behavior. At number 9, we have how she got someone fired for asking for an autograph. A hotel maid asked her for an autograph, which is totally respectable, because she's literally Jennifer Lopez. But it was how she responded that made her such a diva. When the maid asked her very politely for an autograph, nothing came of it. But a day later, the maid received a phone call from the cleaning company she was employed with to let her know that Jen complained about it, and she was fired from that point on. What makes the situation worse is that the hotel tried to deny it happening to maintain its image. Not only is it shady, but the maid risked it all for little reward. Who would think that Jenny from the block would be such a princess about a fan? At number 8, we have the diamond-encrusted headphones. It makes sense to have sound-canceling headphones with you, especially when you have sensitive ears. But when they're entirely diamond-encrusted and worth almost $6,000, it's too much. One of the more infamous moments she wore the headphones was when she was showing up to the World Music Awards on her personal speedboat. And it wasn't just personalized to her, it was completely custom made, with custom love seats that were faux leather and champagne coolers. But because the boat on the water was just too loud, she had the noise-canceling headphones, and like I mentioned before, they were entirely diamond encrusted. Like regular headphones just weren't enough. At number 7, we have how she won't respond to her flight attendants. She has her own private jet with her own personal flight attendants, and she wouldn't even make conversation with them. It was in 2012 when she was in hot water for it because one of her flight attendants came forward saying that she was ghosting her. The attendant in question came up to her and a few of her guests and asked if she wanted anything to drink. Jen looked at her, turned her head away from her, and told her personal assistant to tell the attendant that she would like a Diet Coke with a lime. Obviously, this is jaw-dropping behavior for anyone, even if it is on par for Jen. At number 6, we have $20 million to be a judge. While she was one of the hosts on American Idol, she was charging $20 million a season. And to add to it, she even bought out Simon Cowell for $12 million so she could replace him. And to prove how much of a diva she really is, her appearance alone rejuvenated the show, so they were willing to cough up the big bucks just to keep her. She wouldn't just judge people on their talent though, she would often judge people on how they smelled. But according to her, at least she didn't judge people on how they looked. Like that's any better. At number 5, we have how the construction crew was not allowed to make eye contact with her. It makes sense when one person's staring too aggressively or with weird intentions. But when it's a huge group of people, it's a little excessive, even for diva behavior. She'd hired a crew to refurbish her mansion home, and if she was around them, they were not allowed to make eye contact with her, and they weren't allowed to speak to her at all either. But that's not all. A lot of her previous helpers said the same thing, like her drivers and other caretakers. She actually ended up selling that home for $27 million and bought a new one the same year for $40 million. At number 4, we have how she wouldn't shoot a commercial where she grew up. We know from her song Jenny from the Block that she grew up rough, and she makes it a point to share her story of triumph and overcoming the odds. But when she refused to film in the Bronx, people were taken aback. She makes it a point to seem like she still has strong connections to her roots there, but refuses to film there. It could definitely be for her own safety, but if she was so deeply connected, you would think she'd want to go back. She was actually filming a Fiat commercial, and they wanted to tap into that part of her, but she would only film in LA, and they required a body double to film the scenes that were in the Bronx. I suppose no matter how deep your roots go, fame overcomes that. At number 3, we have her very specific food demands. We know that the diva makes very specific demands, and that doesn't stop when it comes to food or drink. When she was touring back in 2010, she required a completely white room with top to bottom furniture and everything all in white. She also required no catering in the actual room aside from the drinks, which included, but were not limited to, room temperature refrigerated Gatorade, Coca-Cola regular and diet, a lemon wedge with Smart Water specifically, fruit punch, and plain M&Ms. If they weren't plain, she'd freak out. Also, if she was going to receive a piece of apple pie, it had to be a la mode, or else she'd flip her lid as well. As if it wasn't hard enough to keep her happy, any food catering was to be left outside the door by the person bringing it. Another insane food demand of hers is that when she orders breakfast at a hotel, it needs to be piping hot no matter when she arrives or when it arrives to her room. And if it's not, she'll throw a fit. But it's not just a regular order either. It's scrambled eggs, bacon, pancakes, and the rest of the 9 yards. At number 2, we have her specific relationship requests. If you want to be with her, you've got to jump through hoops to prove you're worth the position. When she was still with Alex Rodriguez, she claimed she really loved his physique, but if he ever lost it or let himself go, she wouldn't be able to stay with him because that was a deal breaker, and she wouldn't marry him if it wasn't a guarantee that he would remain his shape. And that's not all. She also said that if they were going to be together, he was banned from speaking to any woman under the age of 40, in case he tried to get any ideas. She was 49 at that time, and him having a conversation with someone younger than her made her jealous and uncomfortable. And last but not least, at number 1, we have how she claims she isn't a diva. You know you've become fully out of touch when you do everything on this list and still claim you aren't a diva. She says she doesn't deserve the title of being a diva because she doesn't feel like she is, which makes next to no sense. But her support for that claim is that she worked very hard to get where she is and that she's still a hardworking person, because a hardworking person absolutely can't be a diva, with her private jet and her 7 limos and her diamond-encrusted headphones. Getting somewhere big in life when you come from nothing is a big deal, and it's really inspiring to young and upcoming artists. But when you've become that desensitized to your lavish lifestyle, maybe it's time to do some proper soul searching.
Number 10, the alleged racism. Jennifer and Ben Affleck tied the knot in a surprise wedding in Las Vegas and decided to have a bigger ceremony not long after. This time around, they opted to celebrate at Ben's 87-acre compound that is just outside of Savannah, Georgia. But this choice in venue sparked criticism that shouldn't be ignored. Called by the family as the Big House, Ben purchased the home in 2003, and it features 3 separate homes within: the Oyster House, the Summer House, and the Greek Revival style home. The listing agent said, when talking about the home, every detail is historically accurate, from the plaster moldings to the heart of the pine floors. But it seems that because of being historically accurate in nature, it's left fans wondering. Commenters on social media began criticizing the couple for hosting a celebration at a plantation, which of course is a style of home that has association with some pretty horrible history. To make matters worse, Ben and Jen were aware of the dark history in his ancestral line. News One reported that 7 years later, Ben issued an apology after requesting the PBS show Finding Your Roots withheld information about his plantation-owning ancestor. This allegedly even led to PBS shelving the show. This left many fans wondering why the couple would choose this home at all as their wedding venue, as well as why they own it in the first place. despite finding his roots and knowing some of his ancestors' dark past. Many found this to highlight some problematic behavior of ignoring the dark history of some of the buildings. Though the house itself isn't true in time, the land is. The property was reportedly owned by a plantation manager and allegedly is an unmarked graveyard. Most assume that Jennifer was aware of this information prior to planning her wedding there, and this hasn't left a good taste in many fans' mouths about the couple since.
Number 9. Talk smack about other actresses. When a reporter from Movieline turned up at Jennifer Lopez's home to conduct an interview in 1998, he was greeted with what he described as being an orchestrated and deliberate scene. While JLo was being pampered by a number of different staff members doing her business, while she was getting a massage, she seemingly felt the need to let loose during the interview as she started taking swipes at a number of her industry rivals. When she was asked what she thought about the actresses of whom she was competing for roles for, she said the Romeo and Juliet star Claire Danes does the same thing with every character she does, despite the fact that they worked together on the set of Oliver Stone's neo-noir crime thriller U-Turn. Lopez then went on to say she was never really a big fan of the two-time Oscar nominee Winona Ryder, and she also went off on Gwyneth Paltrow, who would win Best Actress at the Academy Awards the following year by saying, "Tell me what she's been in." Jennifer then went on to tell the reporter in the infamous interview, "I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I've heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I've ever heard about her work." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.
Number 8. Bad acting. You can't deny Jennifer Lopez had some movie hits in the past, but lately fans are torn, questioning if she has just lost the touch. After failing to get a nomination for Best Supporting Actress in the movie Hustlers in 2020, fans took to social media to share their thoughts. The TV host Wendy Williams believed she was completely snubbed, saying, "Let me tell you something, Jen, you were robbed. They robbed you purposely because they're jealous of you." But some fans just didn't agree, speculating that it was her acting that was a direct result in the 0 nominations. A fan wrote at the time, "She has acted in 36 films but has never won an Oscar. Yeah, that's because they're all bad." They added, "No one wants to tell her the truth. Hustlers was a terrible movie, and her acting was very one-dimensional." Other fans seem to agree that maybe Jennifer has lost the sparkle that she did once have. On Reddit, when asked, "What do you think of Jennifer Lopez?" one user wrote, "She had promise. Honestly, she has fallen prey to the fame game. She brought solid work for a couple films, but she is no longer a phenomenon or a rare talent." They even went on to add, "She can fade with people taking very little notice. Things have a way of working themselves out." Harsh statements for sure, but what do you guys think? Are Jennifer's acting days behind her?
Number 7. Insults musicians. During another Movieline interview, Jennifer also offered her opinion on fellow pop star Madonna's career when she claimed Madonna was good at the former, but not so good at the latter by saying, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when I say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." However, the Queen of Pop isn't the only musician Lopez has shaded, as there has been much speculation that JLo's short-lived relationship with Drake in 2016 was nothing but a publicity stunt. However, the fact that Rihanna, who had somewhat of a complicated relationship with the Canadian rapper over the years, unfollowed Lopez on Instagram after she was posted in a pic across the Grammy winners, it seems to suggest that there indeed was some truth to the coupling. Lopez then revealed that she and Drake were working on a song together, but working with JLo doesn't always end well, and Drake learned that the hard way after she dissed Drake during a live show in Las Vegas by telling the audience that he was nothing but a late night call for her. And we all wonder why he won't bring a nice girl home to his mom for once.
Number 6. Insensitive comments. Jennifer Lopez was called out for some criticized comments made about her Super Bowl halftime performance in 2020. For the halftime show, JLo came together with Shakira for an iconic event. Despite having 6 minutes of performance times each, it received a huge amount of praise from the stars. However, after Jen's documentary Halftime came out, discussing some of the struggles of the show, a few fans took back their former praise. Not only did Jen brand the whole thing as the worst idea in the world, but she had some very specific views on a political aspect. It seems her organizers just weren't seeing eye to eye with her at the time. During her performance, she was surrounded by children, sitting cross-legged inside a glowing cage. Many came to the conclusion that these glowing cages were intended to look like immigrant children being held in cages at the US detention centers. You're probably thinking, how could this be bad, as this is a topic that should be more widely discussed? But it was her comments afterwards that got fans pretty heated. It seems the NFL was more reluctant to include this moment at all, which pushed J-Lo to fight back at the show's organizers in a heated phone call which was shown in her documentary. She said, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just out here shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing." She went on to say, "I want something real, I want something that's going to make a statement." Not long after the documentary was released, a certain line about belly dancing found its way across Twitter. One Twitter user wrote, "In a new documentary, J-Lo compared belly dancing to just shaking your butt. She said this type of dance and what Shakira offered wasn't culturally relevant enough to be shown on stage." They continued on by saying, "This comes after she said she was not happy to share the stage with Shakira. She's bitter, loud, and wrong." Others even accused her of having an ethocentric mindset, where she believes her culture is superior to others. One other social media user wrote, "To say that belly dancing, a Middle Eastern culture, has no substance is so ethnocentric and perhaps a little racist."
Number 5, drives co-stars crazy. Now, there's a list of actresses who have felt like Jennifer Lopez brings things a little too far on set, and one of those people's on the list is Cameron Diaz, especially after Jennifer went on to diss her about her career to Movie Line by labeling Cameron as a lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities, to the point she wishes Cameron would have just done more with her talent. Jennifer's brutal assessment of Cameron's career trajectory reportedly made things a tad awkward for the pair when the actresses were both cast in the 2012 film What to Do When You're Expecting. On-set sources would then reveal that the two on set just couldn't get along. Lopez then didn't endear herself to Cameron, who allegedly said the pop star was a nightmare to work with, as she once even said to Jen she should stick with her day job, meaning American Idol and singing, as an insider even claimed that Jennifer demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and she would even stop work to have her assistant run her over some small protein in a veg-based meal. This drove Cameron crazy. Details of their feud would soon become a hot topic after it appeared in Star magazine, after a source claimed to the media outlet that the co-stars actively avoided one another by saying they don't interact much, but when they do, the tension is thick, and Jennifer just acts like Cameron doesn't exist. However, when both actresses denied the rift while promoting the movie, it then caused critics to say this was ultimately just all planned.
Number 4, music theft. From her career in acting to her music career, it seems controversies seem to follow her. Over the years, Jen has been accused of stealing songs from other prominent artists in order to gain more fame for her music quicker. Back in 2005, J-Lo released her 4th studio album, which was called Rebirth, though it seems to be received from some pretty mixed reviews. The song Get Right was pretty widely praised, and at the time it was reported that the singer Usher was furious though, accusing Jen of using his music. He said at the time, "I hate it, but I better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right. But I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." According to Usher, Get It Right was his song with the title Ride, and it was available to listen to show proof that it was her that just re-recorded a version of his own song. Not only that, but Jen was also accused of using Ashanti's vocals for her song I'm Real. She said at the time, "You should always care about who you give credit to, regardless of what industry you're in. It's really important to give credit." Luckily, in the end, she did get credit, but still, it's not a very good look.
Number 3, makes ridiculous demands. Most big musicians send riders when negotiating with a venue or organization prior to a gig, but if the stories are true, Jennifer Lopez has made some crazy diva demands over the last couple of years. As according to Huffington Post, J-Lo was all set to perform at the opening of the Indian Premier 2020 cricket tournament, which has a TV audience around 60 million people in 2013. But apparently, she lost the gig when IPL bosses found out that she was asking for a private plane, numerous hotel rooms to accommodate all of her stylists and handlers, and the organization was so shocked to even point out they didn't even want to play ball with Jennifer and they would replace her with Pitbull. However, apparently those demands are nothing when you compare them to the impossible requests she made ahead of her medley performance at the World Music Awards in 2010. As the Mirror would report that the singer allegedly requested a helicopter to be on standby, as well as a custom-fitted speedboat and a pair of diamond-encrusted headphones to drown out the sound of the boat boat's motor. And her people have even requested that she had an entire floor of a hotel to herself to ensure she isn't hassled. Privacy was such a main concern, she even once had a piece of beach roped off for her as well.
Number 2, problems with staff. Jem seems to have been accused of treating her staff honestly pretty terribly. During a storm of fans sharing their uncomfortable moments with Jen, one woman accused the star of being rude to her drivers. The TikTok user revealed that her father once worked for a company that Jen would use to hire and provide drivers for her. The TikToker claimed that Jen does not allow the drivers to look at her, and that even if the driver looks through the rear view mirror, they weren't exempt from Jen's scolding. Not only that, but she refused to have her luggage ever touch the ground. Because of her diva temperament, she shared that her father refused to drive for J-Lo because of all the horror stories that he heard through the grapevine. J-Lo is no stranger to being called a diva, but not even being able to make eye contact really does seem a little bit extreme.
And coming in at number 1 today, we have too full of herself. There's confidence and then there's arrogance, and Jennifer Lopez has walked a dangerous tightrope between both categories for years. As the star even once declared in an interview with Movieline that she herself is an A-list celebrity. When Movieline then asked her why she was a hot property in Hollywood at the time, she then delivered an incredibly immodest answer by saying, "Because I'm the best." She said, "I feel I can do anything, any kind of role, I'm fearless." This kind of honesty is somewhat refreshing, but having too much belief in yourself and your own abilities will inevitably get under the skin of your colleagues and viewers alike. Lopez then claimed to have something called the stardom glow, but not everyone saw it that way. At the time of her career, even though it was 1998, it was a good year for the star, but she certainly fell out of favor with critics in 2003 when she landed the Worst Actress title at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And ever since, her career has had a bunch of ups and downs, and it seems like it gets worse whenever the actor lets all the fame go to her head.
At number 10, we have Jennifer's dismissal of bad teacher actress Cameron Diaz when she made the comment that she believes Cameron is a quote, lucky model who's been given a lot of opportunities, and how she wishes she would have done more with them. In turn, Cameron made a statement that Jennifer's behavior on set was rather cold, as she pretty much ignored her. She also described Jennifer as being someone who was hard to work with. As a clapback, Cameron further pushed that J-Lo should stick to her day job of singing. However, in the same Jennifer interview, it wasn't just Cameron that she came for. She also took shots at fellow actresses Gwyneth Paltrow and Winona Ryder. For Gwyneth, Jennifer said, "Tell me what she's been in? I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." On Winona, Jennifer recalled, "I was never a big fan of hers. In Hollywood, she's revered. She gets nominated for Oscars, but I've never heard anyone in the public or among my friends say, oh, I love her." At number 9, we have radio show host and interviewer Howard Stern, whose reasonings for not liking J-Lo comes in many forms. For one, he hates her music. Howard's typical musical vibe is 90s rock and grunge rather than early 2000s pop. But not only does Howard not enjoy Jennifer's music, he's also bashed it in the form of jokes on numerous occasions, despite his attraction to fairly few pop songs in the past. In summary, it was Howard Stern's show co-host Robin who made claims while they watched her on the floor music video that radio stations were hesitant to play the song since she hadn't been charting for a while. Apparently, to further this point, he described that the relevance of J-Lo being a judge on American Idol kind of forced the song down consumers' throats. And Howard later accused Jennifer of being self-absorbed because the single debuted on American Idol. Howard further bashed her Super Bowl performance and even ridiculed Jimmy Fallon's praises for it as well. There was also the incident where Howard claims he spent the entirety of his run-in with his friend Mark Anthony, who was married to Jennifer at the time, being completely ignored. This further pushed the established reputation of Jennifer being a snotty diva. Howard's last straw was Jennifer's interview, where she was asked if she found Howard attractive, and remained silent while expressing a puking expression. Since then, Howard has not let up on the insults about her attitude, music, and business choices whenever she's brought up on his show. At number 8, we have Gloria Estefan's shade to Jennifer for her halftime documentary spiel about performing with Shakira for the 2020 Super Bowl. When Gloria admitted she chose not to participate with no regrets, she blasted Jennifer's comments about their experience when she sat down with Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live in June. Quote, "Imagine what J-Lo would have said if I was third. I literally would come out, done, shake your booty, and out. It was their moment. Plus, I didn't want to go on a diet in December. This was in light of J-Lo's reaction to Shakira co-headlining the sports event. Benny Medina said in the film that it was insulting of the Super Bowl to request 2 Latina artists when one had already historically done the work. Yet Jennifer was the one who was upset about splitting her time on stage, stating that they only had 5 minutes to sing all their desired songs accurately. Quote, "We have to have our singing moments. This is the worst idea in the world to have 2 people do the Super Bowl." While Jennifer and Shakira communicated about their upcoming performance, Jennifer added, "They said 12 minutes. I got a good confirmation that we could have an extra minute or 2, so now we're at like 13-14 minutes. I think Shakira, what we should have is you should have half the time and I should. If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." At number 7 we have singer Brandy, who was apparently picking sides when the Lopez-Carey feud was at its peak. Brandy had shared an Instagram photo of her embracing Mariah in 2017 with a short 3-word caption of #SheKnows Me. Brandy's followers were on her like water as soon as the post was uploaded, speculating that the caption had everything to do with Mariah's famously memed "I don't know her." In response, Brandy denied there being any drama, rearranging the captions and then say, "I swear I don't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny. Can't take this one down. I love this picture. And whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable. You know that I am." Brandy also continued unapologetically with, "I've met her several times like the several seats that should be taken. She does know me." And if things couldn't get any shadier, Mariah made sure to clear things up in Brandy's comments with a simple "I sure do." At number 6 we have J-Lo's first husband, Ohani Noah. Despite their marriage being short-lived and ending as of 1998, it seems Ohani still can't stand Miss Jenny from the block. Their 9-month marriage apparently wasn't all that great, as Ohani had been working hard to slander his ex-wife's name on a number of occasions. Back in 2006, Ohani published a tell-all titled The Unknown Truth, a passionate portrait of a serial thriller. J-Lo halted this project with a lawsuit and claimed that Ohani was breaking their confidentiality agreement. Jennifer won $545,000 in damages, and Ohani was given a court date which forbid him from criticizing, denigrating, casting in a negative light, or otherwise disparaging Jennifer. In the next 3 years, Ohani threw himself back into news outlets when he made threats to release a sexually suggestive video of Jennifer that was filmed during their honeymoon and resulted in another $10 million lawsuit. In 2016, his appearance on $1 Million Matchmaker saw Ohani claiming he loaded the blame on Jennifer for their split and how he was looking forward to spending a lifetime with her before she chose her career over him. At number 5 we have former NBC World of Dance TV host and mentor Jenna Dewan, who sat on the panel with then executive producer Jennifer. Although the two dancers and celebrities seemed fine during the 2017 reality dance competition tapings, their animosity behind the scenes apparently ran deep. An unnamed outlet source once stated on Jenna's behalf that Jenna, quote, "can't stand Jen's over-the-top theatrical fakery," adding that Jen never fails to ham it up when the cameras are rolling and she hijacks the show. It seems she'd prefer if Jenna just stayed in the background. Every situation, even off camera, is micromanaged by J-Lo, and Jenna feels very excluded. This alleged feud seemed to be squashed fairly quickly though when Gossip Cop reached out to a show producer and one of Jenna's reps and was informed that the reported beef was misleading. However, given Jennifer's past, can we really be sure of this? At number 4 we have actress Rosie Perez. She and Jennifer apparently had lifelong ties with one another that seemed great on the outside. But both Puerto Rican dancers raised in New York have zero love for each other, according to Rosie's 2014 Handbook for an Unpredictable Life memoir. In it, Rosie discusses working on In Living Color with Jennifer in a wickedly horrible light. Quote, "All the girls were coming into my office complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me all to her advantage." Despite Jennifer dipping from ILC after 2 seasons, Rosie stuck with her words of Jennifer supposedly keeping the flame of their feud burning for years after they parted. The words on the pages of Rosie's book portrayed Jennifer to be a two-faced person who would crap on Rosie 1 minute but then act super sweet like nothing happened between them the next. At number 3 we have artist Rihanna, who seemed to be unimpressed by Jennifer after the star posted herself chilling with Rihanna's on-again off-again reported love interest Drake backstage at her 2016 Winter Vegas show. Naturally, Jennifer's snap captioned "Look who rolled up at my show tonight to say hi, #LoveHim," sparked massive dating rumors, and it probably didn't help that Jennifer uploaded a follow-up pic of her and Drake bear hugging and looking overly comfortable snuggling up. While many were unconvinced about the headlines, Rihanna was seemingly not here for any of it, which is why she reportedly went on to dub Jennifer as a desperate traitor. According to an unnamed insider who spoke to Touch, Rihanna had felt like she experienced the ultimate betrayal by Jennifer, since they once had a tight-knit bond where Rihanna could seek solace in Jennifer for her relationship. Rihanna did not publicly address their rumored issues, however, she did seem to throw some shade when she suddenly hit the unfollow button on J-Lo's Insta. At number 2 we have Nicki and Jennifer's heated back and forth jabs that started with an exchange during a 2012 American Idol episode, where Nicki performed and Jennifer was a judge. When the female rapper completed her set, she boldly asked, "I was hoping maybe I could come back and be a guest judge. J-Lo, can you scoot over a bit?" To which Jennifer immediately quips, "I don't know if there's enough room for the both of us." Nicki seemed to hold on to that comment when she attempted to smooth things over back with The Hollywood Reporter, saying she didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it. We were just joking around. However, in 2015, things were still just as messy when Jennifer opened the American Music Awards performing a medley of songs which included Nicki's hit Anaconda. Nicki seemed to be unimpressed by her performance, as the camera gave away her emotionless expression, which told us everything we needed to know, as one fan hinted. Nicki came to Jennifer's defense at that point though, when she fired back with a tweet to a fan explaining, "I'm looking at my own face on the screen when I'm looking to the right. I turn back and look at her." At number 1, we have the iconic "I don't know her" rivalry that has been carried out for years now. This beef has been ongoing since the early 2000s, with both stars being repeatedly questioned on whether or not they actually like each other. It seems they can't really decide though. Host Andy Cohen brought up their beef on his show in 2014, where Jennifer nonchalantly played the situation off with, "I don't have a feud against her at all. I've read things she said about me that were not the greatest, but we don't know each other. I would love to meet her and I would love to be friends with her." However, she told Wendy Williams the exact opposite in 2016 for her show, explaining, "She's forgetful, I guess. We've met many times." Andy went straight to the source to speak with Mariah that same year, and in response, Mariah reiterated, "I don't know her. What am I supposed to say?" Jennifer of course took this as major shade, and when people were flaming Mariah for her quote disastrous New Year's Eve performance that winter, Jennifer threw some shade of her own by liking a post referring to Mariah's performance as a train wreck. It seems Mariah got the final laugh though, because she made it rain shade in her 2020 memoir The Meaning of Mariah Carey, where she revealed her feud with Jennifer on top of slamming Jennifer's ex-husband and former CEO of Sony Music, Tommy Mottola, for allegedly attempting to ruin her career with Jennifer's help. Mariah claimed Tommy tried to sabotage the glitter soundtrack Firecracker, and pushed that the movie's lead single Lover did not go unnoticed by Sony executives. Mariah also added that Sony rushed to make a single for another female entertainer on their label, but rather than naming Jennifer in the allegation in her sampling of Firecracker on I'm Real that same year, Mariah just concluded with her infamous comment, finishing her statement with, "After all that ish, Loverboy ended up being the best-selling single of 2001 in the United States."
Number 10, Mariah Carey. This celebrity feud is legendary, so it's only fair that we start off with this one. J-Lo and Mariah Carey have been at each other's throats since the early 2000s. In fact, most people remember the iconic line that Mariah told a German reporter, "I don't know her." Although it sounds hilarious, Mariah has maintained her negative opinion of J-Lo all these years. For example, an interviewer once asked her what she thought about Beyonce and Jennifer Lopez, and she responded by saying that they don't even belong in the same category for a very specific reason. Well, it's hard. You can't really put those two people in the same category because one is in a really different generation. They just started singing later. But when you talk about Beyonce, I think she's wonderful, she's great, she's a talented person. But it seemed that she forgot to compliment J-Lo as well. A few years later, Carey spoke to Andy Cohen and doubled down on her comments, quote, "I don't know her, what am I supposed to say?" It looks like it'll take a miracle for these two iconic performers to ever be on good terms. Number 9, Rihanna. There are several celebrities who can't stand Jennifer Lopez, but one of the biggest critics of the iconic singer is Rihanna. These two former best friends had a serious falling out in 2016 for the oldest reason in the book. They were fighting over the same guy. Before the feud began, Rihanna and J-Lo were friendly to each other and had no reason for animosity. But trouble started brewing right after Rihanna and Drake broke up. They had a summer fling that same year, which was pretty casual, but it definitely still counted. Girl code was broken when J-Lo started getting close with Drake almost immediately after. But the feud really became public when Jennifer posted a photo of her and Drake hanging out backstage at her show in Las Vegas with the caption #LoveHim. In fact, the two were even spotted hugging, and fans quickly realized that something very shady was happening. An inside source close to the star said that Riri felt like she had suffered the ultimate betrayal and called Jennifer's behavior desperate. It must have been accurate because in December of 2016, she suddenly unfollowed Lopez on Instagram. Number 8. Gloria Estefan. Cuban-American superstar Gloria Estefan was originally supposed to be performing at the 2020 Super Bowl alongside fellow Latina pop stars J-Lo and Shakira, but after seeing J-Lo's new documentary called Halftime, where the singer went on a rant about having to share the stage with Shakira, Gloria put her comments on blast. She didn't seem to agree that it was the worst idea ever to have the artist share the stage, and explained why Lopez got it wrong on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. Quote, "Look, this is the bottom line. You have very little time, like 12 minutes or something, to get things on and off the set. So could you do it with one person? Yes. But I think they wanted to throw a Miami and Latin extravaganza, and they tried to pack it in as much as possible." The Grammy Award winner also confirmed that she chose not to participate for a reason, seeing as J-Lo got so worked up about having two people perform. Quote, "Okay, and imagine what J-Lo would have said if I was the third. I literally would come out, done a shake your booty and out." But she went on to insist that it was their moment and that she didn't want to go on a diet in December anyway. Number 7. Nick Cannon. The Wild 'N Out star took a cue from his ex-wife Mariah Carey's famous phrase to throw shade at Jennifer Lopez during his guest appearance on The Wendy Williams Show. While discussing Hollywood crushes during the Hot Topic segment, the 41-year-old first named Carey, his ex-wife and mother to their two twins, Moroccan and Monroe. Quote, "Number 1, Mariah, the amazing mother, superstar, singer." He then went on to name Halle Berry and Naomi Campbell as his second and third choices. A producer then suggested J-Lo as an option, and he just responded with, "I don't know her." After the audience erupted into laughter, the host added, "That was a joke for the lambs. Shout out to the lambs," as Carey refers to her fans as the Lamely. Cannon made it clear who he supports in the ongoing battle of the divas, and naturally he sided with Carey, so we can't really fault him for that. It's been a bit of a running joke for years that Mariah wasn't kidding and didn't actually know J-Lo personally when she gave that interview, but it was too late to clear the air, as the classic "I don't know her" line has gone down in history as one of the best ways to shade someone. Number 6. Rosie Perez. Both Jennifer Lopez and Rosie Perez have served as inspirations to the Latin community for over 2 decades, but they haven't always gotten along. They met back in 1991 during an open casting call for In Living Color. At the time, Perez was the show's choreographer, and Lopez was auditioning to become a member of the dance troupe known as the Fly Girls. Her audition was unsuccessful, but Perez saw a star quality in J-Lo and actually pulled some strings to get her in. But after she was in the group, it became clear that Lopez didn't get along with her fellow dancers. According to Perez, she was labeled as a diva right away. "All of the girls were coming into my office and complaining how she was manipulating wardrobe, makeup, and me, all to her advantage." Perez said that at first she didn't believe it, but then J-Lo screamed at her saying, "I know I'm good, I'm better than any of these girls and you know it." What's worse is, after J-Lo left the show and made it big in the music industry, she went on talk shows trashing her former choreographer. Perez also implied that J-Lo ghosted her. Quote, "I called her up, she wouldn't pick up. Frustrated, I left her an irate message on her answering machine. Instead of calling me back and hashing it out like friends do, she went on a major talk show and reiterated my lashing." Number 5. Brandy. Brandy has had a public feud with Jennifer Lopez since 2017, and according to Kiwi Report, she made it clear that she supports Mariah Carey going against J-Lo too. Basically, she posted a photo of herself on Instagram hugging Carey with the hashtag #SheKnowsMe. The caption was super perfect and a great reference to that famous "I don't know her" comment. So the whole thing tells us that Brandy is totally teaming with Mariah. Brandy's post exploded on social media and Lopez fans immediately took offense to it. Mariah saw the backlash and chimed in to Brandy's photo, commenting with a simple "I sure do." But the singer was quick to defend herself from hate comments and edited the caption shortly after posting it with, quote, "Oh my god, what happened? I swear to goodness, I don't know what the fuss is about. I love this pic and now everyone thinks I'm throwing shade. At who? This is funny, can't take this one down. I love this picture and and whenever I'm throwing shade, it's not questionable. You know that I am. She totally doubled down on dissing Jennifer and siding with Mariah, adding, quote, also, I've met her several times. Like the several seats that should be taken, she does know me. Number 4, Nicki Minaj. These two have allegedly been feuding since 2012. It all started when Nicki was performing on one particular episode of American Idol at the same time that J-Lo was sitting on the judge panel. In a rather awkward moment, Nicki asked if she could come back on the show as a guest judge and asked J-Lo to scoot over. As a Latina artist hit back, she said, I don't know if there's room for both of us. It was one of those joking moments that seemed like there was something else behind it, but nevertheless the two seemed to be just joking around, even though Nicki told a reporter backstage, quote, she didn't seem to be having it, but she's gonna have it. Okay, so now we're jumping to 2015, when fans swear that Nicki shaded J-Lo for performing her song at the American Music Awards. As she was performing a small part of Anaconda, the camera cut to Nicki in the audience, looking less than happy with the rendition. The clip showed her emotionless face and made it seem like she didn't approve of the way her song was being used. Number 3, Ryan Seacrest. This incident gives Ryan every reason to hate J-Lo because it's pretty bad. Ryan Seacrest worked alongside the singer on American Idol and the two quickly became friends. But all that seemingly changed when the talk show host revealed that he flew down to Miami to celebrate her milestone 50th birthday, only to be denied entry at the door. Ouch. He recalled the whole story on Live with Kelly and Ryan and explained that he flew down from New York for only a few hours because he had to make it back in time for the next morning's show. But when he finally arrived, the doorman told him, "You're not on the list," to which he responded, "Clearly, there's a mistake. She invited me personally." But upon being denied, he checked the list and couldn't find his name. The doorman just asked him to wait, made a quick call, and was able to confirm that Seacrest was indeed on the guest list. But the host went on to say that he was the first person there and no one really got turned up until after he left. It would have certainly been a little embarrassing to say in the least. Number 2, Cameron Diaz. Throughout the years, Jennifer Lopez has been known to speak negatively about her fellow actors, and it looks like it may have come back to bite her. During an interview in the late 90s, J-Lo explained that Cameron Diaz was just a lucky model who was given opportunities. She did mention that Diaz can be good when directed, but Lopez's past comments about Cameron's career allegedly made things super awkward between them when they both had to buckle down and work together in the 2012 comedy What to Expect When You're Expecting. Several anonymous sources on the set of the film claimed that the two stars did not get along at all during the shoot. In fact, it was reported that Cameron said the singer was a nightmare to work with. Quote, she even said that Jen should stick to her day job, meaning American Idol and singing. According to The Insider, J-Lo demanded to eat at specific times, no matter what, and stops working when it suits her, and she had her assistant run over to her with food. This is what allegedly drove Cameron crazy. Another source claimed that the co-stars actively avoided one another while filming, and tensions were thick. Number 1, Ojani Noah. The former couple were married on February 22nd, 1997, and got divorced barely 1 year later, in January of 1998. It was so long ago that you would think Ojani has moved on from the relationship, but apparently he's still holding on to a bit of resentment. In fact, Jennifer's former flame was out to make a buck off their brief marriage by trying to expose revealing videos from their honeymoon. Ojani was even hauled into court after he started planning a tell-all movie based on the revealing home footage called How I Married Jennifer Lopez, the J-Lo and Ojani Noah story. The result? Well, she sued him for a whopping $10 million and demanded a permanent court order blocking her ex from making any videos public. Ojani also threatened to write a tell-all book unless he was paid $5 million by the singer. His unpublished book alleges that J-Lo had multiple affairs, including one with Mark Anthony, during the 11 months that they were married. But a judge was not having it and awarded her $545,000 in damages and quashed the book, ruling that it violated a 2004 deal not to publish details of their relationship. Her team calls the movie an outrageous attempt to make money and received substantial compensation. So it's clear that he's still a little bit bitter.
First off, Miss Britney Spears. On February 16, 2007, the Gimme More singer infamously shaved her head. Days later, she shocked the world by furiously attacking a paparazzo's car with an umbrella. umbrella. The following July, the pop star offered up a bizarre explanation for her violent behavior. I was preparing my character for a role in a movie where the husband never plays his part, so they switch places accidentally, she wrote on her website. I take all my roles very seriously and got a little carried away. Unfortunately, I didn't get the part. But in her 2023 memoir, her opinion on the incident changed. She says, I'd been eyeballed so much growing up, I'd been looked up and down, I had people telling me what they thought of my body since I was a teenager. Shaving my head and acting out were ways of pushing back, Spears adds in the book. After Britney was put in a court-ordered conservatorship in 2008, granting her father and a lawyer control over all her financial and personal affairs, she says she was forbidden from keeping the new shaved look. Under the conservatorship, I was made to understand that those days were now over, she writes. I had to grow my hair out and get back into shape. I had to go to bed early and take whatever medication they told me to take. Our next celebrity meltdown involves Nothing Compares to You singer Sinead O'Connor. Sinead was performing on SNL when a brief moment destroyed her entire career. On October 3rd, 1992, O'Connor appeared on SNL to promote her new album, Am I Not Your Girl? For the second song of the evening, O'Connor had chosen to perform an a cappella version of Bob Marley's song War. Throughout the performance, she stared intently into the camera, and as she sang the final line, we have confidence in the victory of good over evil, O'Connor held a photograph of the Pope directly in front of the camera, ripped it up, saying, "Fight the real enemy," before throwing the pieces to the floor. The SNL producers were not aware of O'Connor's plan. During the dress rehearsal, she had held up a picture of a child. Everybody at SNL apparently froze after the live performance, unsure how to react, and that the music producer Liz Welch went from jubilation to tears. The executive producer Lorne Michaels said the air went out of the studio and that he ordered that the applause sign should not be used. The audience remained silent and O'Connor returned to her dressing room where somebody found her talking to herself, quote, doing something between poetry and chanting. Our next celebrity meltdown involves Nicki Minaj and Mariah Carey. On an episode of American Idol, the former show judges got into a curse word-filled fight. Minaj criticized Carey for being too harsh on a contestant, which the Vision of Love singer responded by saying, "I'm sorry, it's just that that's what I do, Nicki." The Anaconda rapper immediately fired back. "Oh, you're right. I'm sorry I can't help her," she said, tossing her seat behind her. "Maybe I should just get off the effing panel. Let me get off the panel." After leaving the room, Nicki was overheard shouting, "Shut the F up! Finish the show, I'm done." But that's not the only on-air meltdown Nicki Minaj has had. When accepting her VMA award for Best Music Video, Nicki made a dig at fellow performer Miley Cyrus. While thanking her pastor and other fans, Nicki said, "Back to this B-word who had a lot to say about me the other day in the press. Miley, what's good?" Speaking of on-air meltdowns, Hugh Grant had some rude things to say to Ellen while on her talk show. After she complimented her guest, calling him fantastic, smart, and all those things, Grant responded back by saying, "I wish I thought that about you." He also had some rude things to say about Julia Roberts while on the Oprah show. Very big mouthed. Literally, physically, she has a very big mouth. When I was kissing her, I was aware of a faint echo. Again, they would try to get Grant back on track during the interview, mentioning that Julia Roberts was a really good person, in which Grant responded by saying, "I wouldn't go that far." Hugh Grant would go on to admit that this current relationship with Roberts is not on the best of terms because of past comments. "I've probably made too many jokes about the size of her mouth. She might hate me by now." Michael Jackson seemed to have a meltdown after his infamous baby dangling incident. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here is the story. In 2002, Michael Jackson visited Berlin to accept an award for his philanthropic work on behalf of children, a Lifetime Bambi Entertainment Award. During his stay, the pop star dangled his 9-month-old son, nicknamed Blanket because his face was covered with a towel, over the balcony of the hotel he was staying in. It seemed that what the King of Pop was trying to do was show his baby to the fans that had gathered outside his hotel, but the public's response was obviously completely opposite from what Jackson had expected. As soon as photos and videos of the incident were released to the public, the media started criticizing Michael's parenting skills and reckless behavior. Ringo Starr, a former member of the Beatles, got in a serious altercation with interviewer Sherry Hewson. During a live event, she said, "He just sat down, said, 'Okay then girls, what are we doing here? Shall we just get Paul McCartney out of the way?'" This was live, by the way. Anyway, he carries on. "Let's get Paul McCartney out the way." "You want me to talk about Paul McCartney?" I said. "Well, no, you're here." And he said, "No, you don't. You want to talk about Paul McCartney." She continued, "He was so angry. It was just so weird. I thought, why? Why? It was just a really weird thing." And then he said to the audience, "Can I tell you all, if anyone wants an autograph, cannot have one, because I don't do things like that." At the end of it, one of the producers came up with one of her little children who was only 4 years old and said that she knew he didn't do autographs, but told him that her daughter was only 4 and she really loves the Beatles. He just stared and said, "Really?" And then he said, "Did you not hear what I just said? I don't sign autographs." Yikes. David Letterman, former host of the David Letterman Show, has made some really weird on-screen moments while interviewing celebrities, and some of these stories are really hard to believe. When he was interviewing Madonna, he stopped the interview and asked her, "Why don't you go and kiss the guy in the audience?" Shocked, she said, "Why are you so obsessed with my love life?" He responded by saying, "Go kiss the guy in the audience. It would knock him out." She responded, "I can't. I've never succumbed to peer pressure." Interviewing Jennifer Lopez, he made the cameraman zoom into a close-up of her chest while saying, "That's pretty good. That's pretty darn good." Ew. David Letterman seems quite rude, but perhaps the rudest interview story has to go to Jesse Eisenberg. While promoting his new movie Now You See Me, the actor seemed to have a meltdown while in an interview, being extremely rude to the interviewer. Out of nowhere, Jesse brought up the often maligned comedian Carrot Top. Before long, it became clear that Eisenberg only brought up Carrot Top so he could mock the interviewer, whose name was Puga, her abilities as an interviewer. "Do you know the comedian Carrot Top? Well, you're like the Carrot Top of interviewers." "Yeah, it's a good thing. Don't cry now. Cry after the interview is over, because otherwise I'll look like I'm responsible for it." Yikes. After this back and forth conversation, Eisenberg half-heartedly performed a magic trick. Puga then asked Eisenberg if he could say her name to the camera. In response, Eisenberg asked Puga to explain what his motivation for saying her name was, like he was performing an acting exercise. When Puga asked Eisenberg to say her name like he was trying to find her in a crowded place, he quietly said her name. Puga then remarked that she would never be able to hear him in a club, and his explanation for why he was being quiet seemed very harsh. He said, "The thing is, I actually didn't want to find you. I actually was hoping to stay alone." After the interview was done, the interviewer said she went behind the curtain and cried. Shia LaBeouf, former Disney star known for his troubled past, turned heads when he wore a paper bag saying, "I am not famous anymore," to a red carpet premiere for his new movie. Just hours before the premiere, LaBeouf found himself sat with a panel in front of a room full of journalists as well as his co-stars. When asked about his decision to star in a movie with so many love scenes, he bent low over the microphone and replied, "When the seagulls follow the trawler, it's because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much." He then got up, pushed the mic away, and stormed out of the conference, leaving the audience and his fellow panelists mystified. What does that even mean? Our final celebrity meltdown involves Miss Ariana Grande. In 2015, Ariana went with friends to a donut shop to grab a sweet treat. Everything was looking good until the employee at the donut shop supposedly turned around behind the counter, and while he wasn't looking, Ariana licked some of the donuts still for sale while saying, "I hate America," and later calling the donuts disgusting. The security footage of the incident went mega viral online, and Ariana quickly went to Twitter to apologize, saying, "Seeing a video of yourself behaving poorly that you have no idea was taken is such a rude awakening that you don't know what to do. I was so disgusted with myself, she said, "I'm not here to make any excuses or to justify my behavior because I can't. I'm just here to apologize."
Number 10, Rose McGowan. So let's talk about the show Charmed for a second, a solid series that was on air for basically 10 years. The series followed three sisters that discover they are descendants of a long line of good female witches and are destined to fight against the forces of evil. Yes, it was a very fun show, however, just because you play sisters on set does not mean that you're always going to be close in real life. Rose McGowan and Alyssa Milano had a very public altercation that resulted in a little incident on set being shared with the world. Rose claimed that Alyssa threw a fit in front of the crew, yelling, "They don't pay me enough to do this stuff," only she didn't say stuff. She called Alyssa's behavior appalling, claiming she cried every time that the show got renewed for another season because it just meant more time on a toxic set. Alyssa never shared her comments on the situation, confirming what she was being accused of. Number 9, Richard Gere. Richard Gere is one of those actors that doesn't really act. Sometimes people just get hired for films because they have a face for it or the style. For Richard, he did not have enough class and moxie to keep a handle on his role in the film Lords of the Flatbush. He was casted to star line Rocky himself, Sylvester Stallone, and according to Sly, the two didn't get along at all. Their beef was strong and long-lasting throughout the entire production until it finally came to a head one day when Richard was a bit too into one scene and he actually grabbed Sylvester pretty aggressively by the collar. When Sly told him to lay off, he laid in instead. The scene was being filmed on Coney Island, and when the actors took a minute to take a break, they tried to break each other. Sly was eating a hot dog alone in his car, which sounds pretty peaceful, and suddenly Richard stormed in, joined him with half of a chicken dripping in mustard, and despite his warnings about the mustard, seriously, it dripped all over his pants. In true Rocky fashion, he elbowed Richard in the face, threw him out of his car, and the altercation resulted in Richard being fired from the project. Oh no, they had to decide between Richard Gere and Rocky. I wonder how quick that decision was. Number 8, Selma Blair. It's funny that this entry involves Charlie Sheen getting a woman fired when he himself has been fired from so many projects because of, well, several reasons. After being fired from 2.5 Men, Sheen returned to the acting world, headlining his own show called Anger Management. It premiered in 2012 with cast featuring Hellboy alumni Selma Blair playing his colleague and friend with benefits on the show. However, Sheen's terrible behavior continued to haunt him from his 2.5 Men days. Blair was very vocal on her problems with Charlie, especially his messy work ethic. Charlie heard and he was having none of that, so he threatened to quit the show if Blair was going to remain a part of the cast. Sheen got his way and Blair was let go after starring in 54 episodes. The show didn't last long though. Who would have guessed that a messy actor being the lead was a bad idea? It got cancelled in 2014. Next up, 7, Shannen Doherty. Unfortunately for Shannen Doherty, she gained quite the reputation in Hollywood for being fired due to issues with her co-stars. She may or may not be making another appearance on this list. Who knows? Guess you'll have to stick around to find out. For the first entry, we're going to look back to the very popular series teen drama 90210, a series following the lives of the Walsh family as they move from Minneapolis to Beverly Hills. Doherty played the character Brenda Walsh, with her character eventually befriending several students at Beverly Hills High, including Donna Martin, played by Tori Spelling. The series was a hit after its initial season, however, with increased popularity came massive egos. Doherty and Spelling started clashing on set constantly, adding additional drama to the production team that really just didn't need to be there. Considering Tori's father, Aaron Spelling, was the producer on the show, it's pretty simple to piece together what happened. Doherty claimed that she was officially let go for having a haircut that messed up the continuity of the show, but a wig could have fixed that, so better believe Tori Spelling told her papa to boot her from the series. Number 6, Edward Norton. As we all know, Edward Norton didn't last long as the Incredible Hulk in the MCU, only being in one movie in 2008. By the way, I've read some of the comments, and no, Edward Norton was not the first person to play the Hulk on screen. The honor goes to Lou Ferrigno and Bill Bixby from the original series, and don't you dare get me started on Eric Bana, looking like he's farting every time he turns into the Hulk. The 2008 film was a success, but not a massive box office goat. The studio were at odds and they wanted to keep using the Hulk and incorporate him into the Avengers, but Edward Norton was becoming increasingly difficult to work with. When he was contacted to keep playing the character, he demanded more money from the studio. However, he was already on thin ice following his time filming The Incredible Hulk. While not some wild on-set meltdown, Norton did make some pretty odd choices. For instance, as part of his contract, he was allowed to rewrite the script as much as he wanted, but it still needed to be approved. So he wrote new scripts over and over again until we got the 2008 Incredible Hulk movie with some of Ed's ideas baked into the final script. Kevin Feige claims that the choice to part ways with Ed was not based on money, but instead on Marvel just wishing to hire an actor that embodies the creative and collaboration side of their talented members. Essentially, he was like, Mark Ruffalo's nicer than you and he doesn't write his scripts, so bye-bye. This ended up being a great decision on both parts though, because Mark Ruffalo is fantastic as Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and Edward went on to make several high-quality films, including a few collaborations with Wes Anderson. Moonrise Kingdom would not have been the same without Edward Norton as Scoutmaster Ward. Number 5. Anne Hathaway. So a fun fact that I was unaware of until today, Anne Hathaway was almost a secondary lead in one of the most universally loved Seth Rogen movies of all time. Knocked Up from 2007 follows Seth Rogen and Katherine Heigl as they prepare for the arrival of an unplanned baby after a one-night stand. The cast was packed with stellar comedians like Paul Rudd, Jonah Hill, Leslie Mann, so many more, and the cast almost featured an up-and-coming actor at the time, Anne Hathaway. Anne is famous these days for roles in movies like Princess Diary, Interstellar, and Ocean's 8. These days, she's considered to be at the top of the A-list. In 2013, she even took home her first Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Now, before this though, she actually agreed to be in Knocked Up because she thought the script was great and that Seth Rogen, is Seth Rogen. You work with him every chance you can. However, she eventually decided not to participate in the film after one issue with the script became cause for concern. The scene in question was one of the final moments in the film, which for those of you who have seen the movie know is pretty graphic. The birthing scene in Knocked Up ended up being a combination of Katherine acting and some close-up clips of her cookie. Anne read that part and decided that her first role in a major comedy movie should maybe be something else. Although it was confirmed that it was not going to be her bits and bobs on display, she has a no birthday suit clause. It worked out for everyone though, because Katherine did a great job despite hating the set apparently, and Anne Hathaway is one of the biggest movie stars to date, so good for her. Number 4. Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper is one of the groundbreaking actors and directors from the 1960s and 70s New Hollywood, eventually finding his niche in the early 90s, playing villains in movies like Speed, Waterworld, and the live-action Mario Brothers movie, where he plays Bowser. Yes, that exists. No, it's not good. So it came as no surprise when he was casted to play Kristoff, the all-powerful TV producer controlling Truman Burbank's life in the movie The Truman Show. The cast was incredible and included Hollywood heavyweight Jim Carrey as the titular Truman. Anyone with a brain cell would have been excited to be a part of this film, still considered to be one of his best dramatic performances. However, 2 days into filming his scenes for Kristoff, which were only expected to take about 10 days to film, Hopper was unceremoniously let go from the set. Apparently, Dennis had a contract in place with producer Scott Rudin that he would be fired should his work be unsatisfactory. He must have been pretty bad in the role, as the director Peter Weir has been described as extremely reluctant to ever remove an actor from a movie. Reports later surfaced that Hopper was basically half asleep while playing the character, and while Kristoff wasn't written to be like a manic man or anything, he did require some effort to be properly pulled off. Ultimately, Ed Harris stepped in to play the role after production had been desperately trying to replace Dennis to avoid having the film be shut down entirely. Thankfully, that never happened, and The Truman Show has gone on to be one of the most depressingly heartfelt Jim Carrey performances ever. Oh, and Ed actually got nominated for an Oscar, so sorry Dennis, looks like it was a good move. Number 3. Jean-Claude Van Damme. The Belgian actor Jean-Claude Van Damme was just on the verge of coming into his own career as the Muscles from Brussels when he landed a job opposite of Arnold Schwarzenegger in 1987's action flick Predator. This sounded like the perfect casting choice. Jean would have worked alongside the likes of Carl Weathers and Jesse Ventura. While this may have turned out cool, the reality was that Jean wasn't casted to play one of the Marines at all. Instead, he was casted to play the titular Predator himself. The special effects artists behind the project called the experience with Jean as a hilarious comedy of errors, in which no party knew exactly what the other was expecting. Apparently, nobody actually told him that the role was basically just a glorified stuntman. They were prepared to direct him to just hop around like a frog, but Jean was obviously confused and upset with that choice. According to him, he had just gotten off the boat and was under the impression that he was going to be showcasing his martial arts skills to the world, but instead he was reduced to a massive, slow-moving alien with dreadlocks. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, Van Damme was furious and dispirited about spending the entire movie cooped up in a clunky and often ridiculous-looking suit, and he was ultimately fired and replaced with Kevin Peter Hall. The idea that he was just on set being like, I can barely move in this thing, it makes me so happy. Number 2. Janet Hubert. Will Smith got his big break in the acting world thanks to the success of the sitcom Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's a show following Will as the titular prince, living with a wealthy family in Bel-Air surrounded by cousins, uncles, and of course Aunt Vivian. In season 1, Aunt Viv was played by a woman named Janet Hubert Witten, but as a lot of people know, she was recasted after an on-set feud with Will Smith went a little bit too far. According to Will, Janet viewed him as as an antagonist in her life. She had been in the business for years, and suddenly Will Smith popped into her life, and she had a tinge of jealousy towards him because he got into town, got a gig. Well, hey, that's what happens when you're good. She was trying to convince the producers to give her character more screen time and allow her to breathe on camera, but they said no because it wasn't the Aunt Viv show. She fought back hard, but it was ultimately decided that she would be asked to sit out the rest of the series and was replaced by Daphne Maxwell Reid, who is Aunt Viv. Number 1, Thomas Gibson. Thomas made a name for himself, starring as one of the leads of the series Criminal Minds. He was on the show for a few years, and in that time he made quite a few problems for those unfortunate enough to be staff members of the series. There were a few issues over the years that would have warranted some action, like screaming at producers and writers for not doing a good job. But the incident that got him kicked off of the show for good involved, well, a kick. In 2016, Thomas was swiftly fired from the series after an incident with a writer named Virgil Williams. An internal investigation revealed that Thomas kicked Virgil one day during production of an episode that Gibson was actually directing. And as I said, this isn't the first incident on set that really should have resulted in some kind of punishment, because 3 years earlier, in 2013, he pleaded no contest to no juice related reckless driving after being arrested under suspicion of DUI, and 3 years before that, he allegedly shoved an assistant director, Ian Wolfe, during a late night location scene. That led to the studio ordering Gibson to take 8 hours of anger management. According to most people on the set, Thomas was a wild card. Some days he was friendly and accommodating, and the next he went ballistic. Number 10, Mike Tyson. So I had trouble landing on just one interview to mention when it comes to this man. He is someone who seems to just bounce back after every single heinous thing he's done. So we're gonna run through a few of them. The first time Mike really hurt his career was in the 80s, and it wasn't even something he said. He was doing an interview with his then girlfriend Robin Gibbs. When the topic of Mike's behavior came up, she said herself that Mike had an extremely volatile temper. Recent reports had also surfaced of Mike getting loud and physical with Robin, something she seemingly confirmed, while Mike just stared at the interviewer the entire time, giving him an evil look. Now, that was one of the first little notches on his belt. That wasn't really a meltdown. As the years went by, more and more controversies came to light, and during a press tour for his latest bout in the early 2000s, he lashed out at a fan in the crowd, hurling a slew of insults and calling them the British word for cancer sticks. It starts with an F and it rhymes with maggot. The clip became viral overnight and placed his career in jeopardy, but he finally drove that nail into the coffin on CP24's Breakfast Television in 2014. After somehow maintaining enough relevance to get a one-man show, Mike was sitting down with host Nathan Downer to promote when the interview took a hard left and it went from "so, what's the show about?" to "so, should you even be allowed on stage, you monster?" That's not what he actually said, but apparently that's what Mike Tyson heard, because he stopped answering questions and would instead hurl sarcastic insults. The F word is once again his favorite, and just throws it at him. I don't know if you've noticed, but Mike hasn't been on the news much since then, and probably for a good reason. Number 9, Paula Abdul. Q13 Fox News. In 2012, famous judge and British bad boy Simon Cowell decided to fire his fellow X Factor judge after she went on Fox News and made herself sound like a little bit of a fool. During an interview with Q13, things started out a little rocky thanks to some audio issues causing Paula to hear a station in Texas instead of their own. When they eventually got everything up and running, Paula was just as confusing as she was with the original issues. The interviewers were trying to ask her about her visit to Seattle, where Simon claims that the worst singers that he has ever encountered dwell. Instead of defending the city, Paula doubled down and agreed with Simon. It's not the statement though that landed her in the hot seat, it was actually just the way that she was speaking. Paula had always been a little bit animated in her life, using arms a lot when speaking to people, but she was particularly slurry and seemed like she was under the influence of something. This was just one of several interviews where Paula is noticeably woozy. Simon Cowell has actually claimed the only reason she was invited to host on the X Factor in the first place was to see if she would bring in the American Idol viewers, and when that didn't pan out, he realized the right move to make was to let her go because she's not great on television. Of course, Paula was mad about this and confronted Simon several times, only making that meltdown bigger and bigger. Number 8, Robert Downey Jr. Being a part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe means a ton of interviews. Now, Robert had the fortune of playing Iron Man for 10 years, being featured in 11 movies. While doing press for his second round with the Avengers in 2015, he had the misfortune of speaking with a legendarily terrible interviewer, Krishnan Guru Murphy, on Channel 4. Now, I've talked about this guy in other videos for making Quentin Tarantino walk out of an interview, and he is making a return for something pretty similar. The interview is uncomfortable from the very beginning. Christian stumbles through his questions as quickly as he can, with Robert doing his best just to keep things smooth. Instead of asking questions about the movie though, Christian decided to probe Robert about his life in prison and with substance control issues. Now, at first, he's okay and answers the questions, but then Christian brings up his dad and asks if he feels that he escaped his dark past. Robert is visibly anxious and begins breathing pretty heavy to keep himself calm. He asks what they were doing there, and then the team said goodbye. He stood up and walked out of the room, and he said that Christian seemed nice, but things were getting just a little bit too Diane Sawyer for his taste. This was one of the most uncomfortable interview moments in Robert's career, and it's not even close to the worst one for Christian. Number 7, Sofia Vergara. Fans of the show Modern Family will recognize Sofia as Gloria, aka Manny's mom, who is just absolutely hilarious and heartwarming at the same time, even outside of Modern Family. Now, while speaking with Ellen in 2017 about her career and some new projects coming up, Ellen decided to play a game called English Word of the Day. Claiming to be learning Spanish with one word a day, she wished to teach Sofia one as well. Before the segment, Sofia is roasting Ellen for her dislike of cotton, but when Ellen asks if she wants to learn the English word with her, Sofia scoffs and is visibly annoyed, claiming that she speaks English very well. Ellen gives her the word flabbergasted and asks her to define what it means. Not only does she pronounce it correctly the first time, but she knew exactly what it meant. Ellen follows it up with discombobulated, which left Sofia confused and thinking pretty hard. Now, she butchered the word, and while she seemed to be taking things in stride, it turns out Sofia was so frustrated with participating in this game, as she is a bit self-conscious when it comes to her accent. A lot of people consider the segment to be a little bit racist and more cringe-inducing than fun. I've seen the clip. That's accurate. Number 6, Joaquin Phoenix. We understand a dedication to your craft, and Joaquin Phoenix is just a prime example. This dude's acting career has been going steady since he first appeared in the 1989 comedy Parenthood when he was in his teens. Now, while he is seen as one of the greatest actors in recent history, his reputation on set was a little tarnished thanks to a freak out while filming the 2018 solo flick Joker. He appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the shoot when Jimmy plays a behind-the-scenes clip of Joaquin getting loud and angry at a man named Larry, and the constant whispering behind the cameras before dropping a few F-bombs and storming off this set. When the cameras came back to the studio, Joaquin was frozen in shock and clearly not expecting that clip to ever see the light of day. He is not having a good time. He explained that Larry was a cinematographer who teased Joaquin off set earlier in the day, calling him a diva and referring to him as Cher. In fact, if you're watching the clip and during the outbursts, you can actually hear him say, "You want to call me Cher? How is that an insult?" He then explained that there is a lot of pressure on set, especially in a closed space, like the apartment from the scene that they were filming. He apologized to the audience for having to see him behave like that, which, was met with applause. Because at the end of the day, he's a performer and no harm came from the outburst or the meltdown, and honestly, if Larry's cool with it, so are we. Number 5, Nicolas Cage. The most unhinged man in Hollywood history. One of the few people who somehow managed to star in billions of movies, but has barely seen or kept a cent of that money. During a press junket in 1990, Nick went on a talk show called Wogan to discuss his latest project, Wild at Heart. When the host Terry Wogan announced Nick Cage, he entered with karate kicks, a front flip, somersault. He threw wads of cash at the audience because, hey, he's Nick Cage, why not? And when he finally sat down, moments before the interview actually began, he asked if he could take his jacket off. He proceeds to take his jacket off and the shirt underneath of it, because if people thought Nick Cage was all together, they were proven wrong during this interview. Despite the content being relatively tamed, the entire time you can just see sweat glistening off of Nick's chest, because guess what? Wearing a leather jacket on your bare chest is beyond uncomfortable, especially when there are lights aimed at you. Now sure, it might look cool until you take it off and you just have a heat rash. Nick's always been unhinged, but this meltdown during this interview was truly unique. His behavior in the 90s was apparent and well documented thanks to him literally being in like 2 movies a year. Number 4, Christian Bale. Christian is a very versatile actor, physically physically and of course skill-wise, he's able to shrink and grow his physique seemingly at will. He's played everything from a skinny substance addict to Batman in 2008. Christian starred in the third film of the Terminator franchise, Terminator Salvation, and while he was filming a scene, director of photography Shane Holbert apparently just moved into Christian's eyesight, and this caused Christian to snap out of character and into defense mode. The now infamous audio clip of Christian screaming at Shane to make matters worse, anyone trying to calm Christian down were met with an equally swift verbal lashing. While the cinematographer was just checking a light to make sure that it was in the right place, you know, like doing his job, Bale made it his mission to share his intense feelings with the entire crew. When the audio leaked, Bale apologized for his actions and told the world to praise the crew for their work. Now, while the movie turned out okay visually speaking, the project as a whole is remembered as a terrible Terminator movie, and he gets pretty uncomfortable when he talks about it on stage. Number 3, Paris Hilton. Paris is the originator of the phrase famous for being famous, because this woman made headlines many times over the years for a little bit of everything. In 2011, Paris appeared on ABC to discuss her career, her personal life, and the recent situations she had been dealing with involving stalkers. During the interview, she revealed a few things about her life that had previously been speculated, like the fact that she used a higher-pitched baby voice on the show Simple Life, but had a much deeper and serious tone in real life. But the conversation eventually ventures into uncharted waters. The interviewer asked Paris if she felt that her former friend and protege, Kim Kardashian, had overshadowed her in the eyes of the media. Paris says nothing, looks to her publicist, and goes to stand up. They almost wrapped the interview entirely, but eventually things simmered down and they were able to clear up the air. However, the moment stuck with fans of Hilton immediately and begged the question, why is she so uncomfortable talking about this? And it's because it's true. Well, it turns out the world answered the question for her, because Kim Kardashian's show, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, made it big, and Paris Hilton's show was cancelled after one season. So, there you go. Number 2, Tom Cruise. Matt Lauer is not just a terrible person who turned out to be a creepy creepo. He was once a popular talk show host in the early 2000s. During an interview with Tom Cruise in 2005, the topic of his scientific beliefs came up that quickly sent Tom into a rant about psychiatry, and somehow the topic got into Ritalin and pseudosciences. I don't know, Tom yelled at Matt about knowing more than him about psychiatry, like he had some inside information that he was secretly a therapist, who knows. The interview came at the height of Tom's pretty public descent into chaotic badness, becoming very famous for his outlandish beliefs and his wish to push them onto other people. The highlight of the interview came when Cruise was asked about his previous criticisms of Brooke Shields taking anti-sad time pills, to which he responded by calling her a glib. I looked up the definition of that word, and it means fluent and voluble, but insincere and shallow. But this was only one of the several interviews from 2005 that I wanted to discuss today, especially with Tom Cruise. Good lord, that was a rough year for him. When he was with Katie Holmes, he was a nutcase. Just ask Oprah. I mean, ever since the mid-2000s, his career has mainly been Mission Impossible, with only a few small roles to fill the gaps here and there, not the Hollywood superstar that he was aiming to be. And at number 1, my favorite entry, Bobcat Goldthwait. Allow me to start the entry by doing an impression of Bobcat. Thank you. Bobcat may not be much of an actor these days, but in the 80s and 90s, this man was dominating the film and comedy scene. His zany brand of over-the-top, high-energy performance was so well received by any and all who saw him. I can still hear his voice echoing in my head whenever I think of Police Academy. In 1994, comedian Arsenio Hall invited his longtime buddy Bobcat onto his talk show, which unfortunately was in its final days on the air. When he heard the cancellation, Bobcat decided to send a message to the big brains that made the decision, because he spray painted the word Paramount on the wall behind him, throws furniture around, breaks TV screens, all the while Arsenio is just sitting back and laughing. When they returned from commercial, the set was in ruins, and despite that, Arsenio joked that he was like, the worst part is I have to pretend like I'm mad at him. Joke's on him, that wasn't the only talk show meltdown he partook in. A few years after this, Bobcat set a chair on fire on the Jay Leno show for no reason, just for fun. Like he was standing there just going, fire. He was fined over $3,000 and made to replace the chair. Oh, and in case you haven't noticed, he hasn't been asked to be on any talk shows recently. Number 10, Joaquin Phoenix. We understand a dedication to one's craft, and Joaquin Phoenix is a prime example. Joaquin's acting career has been going steady since he first appeared in the 1989 comedy Parenthood when he was in his mid-teens. While he's seen as one of the greatest actors in recent history, his reputation on set was tarnished thanks to into a little freak out while filming the 2018 solo flick Joker. He appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote the shoot when Jimmy played a behind-the-scenes clip of Joaquin getting loud and angry at a man named Larry and the constant whispering behind the cameras before dropping a few F-bombs and storming off the set. When the cameras came back to the studio, Joaquin was frozen in shock, clearly not expecting that clip to have ever seen the light of day. He explained that Larry was a cinematographer who had been teasing Joaquin off set earlier in the day, calling him a diva and referring to him as Cher. In fact, during his on-set outburst, you can hear him say, "But you gonna call me Cher, huh? How is that an insult? Huh? She's the best." He then explained that there's a lot of pressure on set, especially in a closed space like the apartment from the scene that they were filming. He apologized to the audience for having to see him behave in such a manner and watching him freak out on set, which was met with applause. At the end of the day, he's a performer, no harm ever came from the outburst. Hey man, if Larry's okay with it, so are we. Number 9, Nick Cage. One of the most unhinged men in Hollywood history. One of the few people who somehow managed to star in a billion movies but has barely seen or kept a cent of it. During a press junket in 1990, Nick went on a talk show called Wogan to discuss his latest project, Wild at Heart. When the host Terry Wogan announced Cage, he entered with karate kicks, a front flip somersault. He threw wads of cash at the audience because hey, he was Nicolas frickin' Cage, man! He finally sat down and moments before the interview truly began, Nick asked if he could just take off his jacket for a second. He proceeded to take off his jacket and the shirt that was underneath it. If people thought that Nick was all together before, they were proven very wrong during this interview. Despite the content being relatively tame, the entire time you can see the sweat glistening off Nick's hairy chest. Cause hey, guess what? Wearing a leather jacket on your bare chest is beyond uncomfortable. Sure, it might look cool until you take it off and you're covered in a heat rash. Nick's always been unhinged, but his odd behavior in the 90s was apparent and well documented thanks to him literally being in a minimal of 2 movies a year. Number 8, Christian Bale. Christian is a versatile actor, both physically and skill-wise. He's able to shrink and grow his physique seemingly at will. He's played everything from a skinny substance addict to Batman. In 2008, Christian starred in the 3rd film of the Terminator franchise, Terminator Salvation. While he was filming a scene, director of photography Shane Holbert apparently moved into Christian's eyesight. This caused Christian to snap out of character and into defense mode. The clip is now infamous of Christian screaming at Shane, but to make matters worse, anyone trying to calm Christian down on the set were met with an equally swift verbal lashing. While the cinematographer was just checking a light to make sure if it was in the right place, aka doing his job, Bale made it his mission to share his intense feelings with the entire crew. When the audio leaked, Bale apologized for his actions and told the world to praise the crew for their work. While the movie turned out okay, visually speaking, the project as a whole is remembered as one of the worst entries in the Terminator franchise to date. Number 7, Tom Cruise. Now, it's one thing to be asking people to join your church all the time. Whatever, not a big deal. But Tom's behavior as a member of society has been rough to say the least. Following the announcement that he was engaged to Katie Holmes in the early 2000s, Tom appeared on an episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show that has gone down in history as one of the most chaotic TV interviews of all time. From the moment he walks on stage, he has such a strange energy. He's oddly excited, like he just got told the best news in his entire life. He throws his arms up in the air, he rubs Oprah's shoulders like she's a lamp and he's trying to summon the genie. He revealed to the audience that the excitement was from his engagement to fellow actor Katie Holmes. Awesome, man, but hey, can you please just stop trying to break Oprah? Seriously, Tom jumped on her couch, he grabbed her hands over and over. She couldn't even get the questions that she had for him out because he was just so chaotic. Eventually, Oprah was like, whatever, just bring Katie out. And the cameras followed Tom through the studio as he ran around trying to find her. It looked like a scene from Paranormal Activity. It was horrifying. Tom's energy continued to stay at that level of chaos throughout his entire marriage to Katie, but since they're divorced, he's just nuts. He is just nuts now. Number 6, Will Smith. Wait a minute, when did Will Smith have a meltdown? Just kidding, you guys know this one by now. In 2022, Chris Rock was hosting the 94th annual Oscar ceremony when he decided to make a little joke about Jada Pinkett Smith and her hair loss. Good old G.I. Jane joke. Rock expressed his excitement to see Jada in a fictional G.I. Jane movie, and immediately following the joke, Rock stood in confusion as Will Smith made his way to the stage. Will walked up, he adjusted his jacket, he looked strong, confident, he took a firm stance, and then he just smacked Chris right across the face just as hard as he could. He winded up his hand to conjure up the full power that he had inside of him. Initially, this was seen as a planned joke between the two, but then Will started shouting at Rock several several times during the ceremony to keep his wife's name out of his mouth. Chris handled the situation well though. He kept his cool, he laughed it off for the cameras, and he brought out the next award presenter, literally the classiest man of the night. He was professional and quick to get the night back on track, but unfortunately an hour later, Will Smith won the Oscar for Best Actor in a leading role in King Richard. He played Richard Williams, the father of tennis superstars Venus and Serena Williams, and during his speech he gave a half-hearted apology for his actions before claiming that the situation was due to his months of portraying the father on set, leaving him with an extreme paternal sense to protect his family. Unfortunately for Will, the slap was enough to get him banned from the Oscars indefinitely, and not just that, but he's been banned from Hollywood entirely, as he is now being seen as an aggressive man with no impulse control. He was fired from any upcoming projects and currently sits at home all day polishing his one and only Oscar while a single tear rolls down his face. Poor old Will Smith. Number 5. Joan Rivers. While speaking with CNN host Frederica Whitfield about her role as a fashion critique on the reality series Fashion Police, Joan did not appreciate the questions that she was being asked. While calm at first, the host claimed that Joan's comments on the show may be considered mean or cold-hearted, but the fans wanted to hear what she had to say. But before being able to even finish that sentence, Joan decided to clap back with, "It's not mean, excuse me," claiming that she says the truth. She's just saying whatever the people on the couch at home are probably thinking. She calls people and their styles ugly on TV. She may be cold, but her words are meant to heal and not to berate. Okay, so everyone who called me ugly in high school was just trying to encourage me? I don't think so. The interviewer then went on to ask Joan how she felt her words were coming across to the audience of both her show and the readers of her book, which apparently featured some pretty dark content about people that Joan just had no business discussing. Joan said, "If you can make something funny in life, do it. Hey, I've got pages and pages of jokes about the events in New York in 2001, but I'm not allowed to say them because they'd make people uncomfortable." Not a good defense, Joni. The final straw came when Joan was asked about the fur coat that she was wearing on the cover of her book and the backlash that she may face from animal rights activists. Well, Joan became furious and decided to leave the interview, but not before calling out Frederica for asking negative questions, for wearing leather shoes, and she reminded her that she made people laugh for over 50 years, okay? Quit asking me why I did this and why are you wearing that? I'm done. She walked off set and was never invited to return again. Number 4. Bobcat Goldthwait. Allow me to start this entry with an impression of Bobcat Goldthwait smelling something that he enjoys. Thank you. Bobcat may not be much of an actor these days, but in the 80s and 90s, this man was dominating the film and comedy scene. His zany brand of over-the-top high-energy performance was well received by any and all who saw him. Heck, I can still hear his voice echoing in my head whenever I think about Police Academy. In 1994, comedian Arsenio Hall invited his longtime friend Bobcat onto his talk show, which unfortunately was in its final days on air. When he heard of the cancellation, Bobcat decided to send a message to the big brains that made that dumb decision. He spray painted the words Paramount on the wall behind him, he threw furniture around, he breaks TV screens, all while Arsenio just sits back and laughs. When they returned from commercial break, the set was in ruins. Despite that though, Arsenio joked, saying, "The worst part of all this is that I gotta pretend like I'm mad at him." Joke's on him, that wasn't the only talk show meltdown that he's partaken in. A few years after this, Bobcat set a chair on fire on the Jay Leno show, for no reason other than just for fun, I guess. Like he was standing there going, "Fire! Yay!" He was fined over $3,000 and made to replace the chair. In case you haven't noticed, he hasn't been asked to appear on any talk shows in recent history. So I wonder why. Number 3. Bill Murray. He came, he saw, he kicked his ass. Bill Murray, the star of box office beauties like Ghostbusters, Groundhog's Day, and Garfield, nope, Garfield, can't say it, I can't say it, nope, can't talk about it. Bill was doing a round of press in 2015 when he made an appearance on 2 talk shows equally as smashed. He stopped by MSNBC studios to appear on the show The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. As the show was about to cut to break, Bill tries to sit and he falls on his tall studio chair. In the photo, you can see just how done O'Donnell is with Bill. According to Murray, after he finally got on his feet, he informed the audience that he had just finished doing the David Letterman show. He then went to dinner and had a few glasses of the no juice before stopping by the studio. As you may expect, Bill slurs his way through the entire interview, constantly going off topic to give the classic, "I love you guys, man, you're doing such a good job." Bill actually physically had a meltdown. He started sliding down in his seat to the point where he was almost doing the interview from the floor. I'm not telling anyone to drink no juice by any means, but I think we can all agree that inebriated Bill Murray is quite quite the hoot. Number 2, Anna Nicole Smith. Anna wasn't just your average Playboy bunny turned Hollywood sweetheart. No. She was also a spokesperson for a line of dietary products after losing a significant amount of weight herself. At the 2004 American Music Awards, Anna took to the stage to introduce rap star Kanye West, but stumbled and fumbled her way through the entire thing, sparking widespread concern about her health. Her speech has lived on in infamy. She mumbles, fumbles, and tries to sell herself to the audience over and over again. Her former partner, Larry Burkhart, revealed the sad truth of the situation 10 years after her passing. He said that Anna had been taking medication at the time to help recover from her enhancement surgeries. She had chronic pain in every part of her body and unfortunately did not follow the recommended dosage her doctor prescribed. The night before the show, Anna had apparently suffered a small seizure and took copious amounts of medication to help ease the pain and keep her awake for the award show. The result was Anna appearing to be under the influence of something and Kanye West being brought out to one of the strangest introductions in awards show history. And at number 1, oh look, it's Tom Cruise again. I know, right? Shocker. We know Tom Cruise is insane. There's no denying that. He may be one of Hollywood's biggest and brightest in his early days, but his career and skills as an actor have slowly been going downhill ever since he divorced Katie Holmes. Now, to prove his insanity and rage, let's just talk about an incident that occurred on his latest Mission Impossible movie set. An audio clip was released of Cruise berating several crew members with intense anger. The crew in question were accused of not following the safety protocols that were in place at the time. In his rant, Tom is heard swearing and screaming about the rules and how if he wants something to happen, it's gonna happen. The crew are essentially his minions who must do the master's bidding. The rant went viral, but Cruise actually defended his rant rather than apologizing for it, claiming that he said what he said and the stakes were at an all-time high, so suck it up. While this may have happened at a time when Hollywood was shut down and many productions were on hold, it's no excuse to harass the people trying to make you look good.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Harry Styles. Harry Styles was left a little red-faced after he suffered a wardrobe malfunction back in January while he was performing in front of one of his first celebrity crushes, Jennifer Aniston. During the middle of Harry's concert, the singer split his trousers right down the middle while he was belting out to his hit song music for a sushi restaurant. Later, a video would surface online where Harry could be seen dropping to his knees before making a shocking face to the crowd as he realized his pants had split. The former One Direction member quickly then covered the rip with his hands and managed to see the funny side while apologizing to the audience sitting in the front row. When he said, "My trousers ripped. I feel I must apologize to a certain few of you right down in the front there." Later, the musician was seen running around the stage before grabbing a pride flag, which he used to cover up the split by tying it around his waist. Number 9, Miley Cyrus. After ringing in the new year on the NBC New Year's Eve special, at one point during the show, Miley lost her top during her performance, which caused her to quickly improvise and change her entire look while continuing on with her set. The moment took place just after Miley performed her hit We Can't Stop and transitioned into another hit, Party in the USA. As she was strutting around the stage in a silver outfit, Miley could be seen holding onto her top as she sang the opening lyrics of the song before she then made her way backstage as her backup singers and band continued to play. The singer then returned to the stage in a red blazer, which she previously wore in her program earlier, and she channeled into her 2009 song by saying, "Everybody is definitely looking at me now. I'm still in the most clothes I've ever wore on stage." Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Janet Jackson. Most people can't even remember who won the Super Bowl back in 2004, but what most people can remember is the biggest moment of the night when Justin Timberlake ripped off the top of Janet Jackson's black bodice, and for a fraction of a second revealed Janet's bare chest that was covered only by a shield. Later, Janet's spokesman would then call the incident a wardrobe malfunction that was not intentional. He then went on to say he was supposed to pull away from the bustier and leave a red lace bra. The whole incident went on to ruin Janet's career, even after she made a public statement saying, "The whole thing went wrong in the end. The decision to have a costume reveal at the end of my halftime performance was one made after the final rehearsal. MTV was completely unaware of it, and it was not my intention that it would go as far as it did. I apologize to anyone offended, including the audience, MTV, CBS, and the NFL." But why did Justin never face the same consequences? Number 7. Nicki Minaj. In 2011, Nicki Minaj stole the show at the American Music Awards with her performance. But what fans don't know is that she actually had a major wardrobe malfunction before hitting the stage. The AMAs was set to be an amazing performance, but when Nicki had a horrible malfunction with her clothes and her hair just 10 minutes before she was set to open, she would tell Complex magazine, "So I was backstage having an effing nervous breakdown. My hair was supposed to light up, my choker was too small." Nicki then somehow managed to pull it all together, so while she was in the box waiting for her show, she ripped off her outfit, threw it to the side, and pretty much had to act like nothing happened. So when the star did finally hit the stage, she freaked out because it wasn't the show she wanted. Number 6. Lindsay Lohan. Back in 2008, the Daily Mail would state that Lindsay Lohan would win the most embarrassing wardrobe malfunction as she led the young Hollywood charge on the red carpet. The star would then soon be left feeling embarrassed after she was caught off guard by a gust of wind. There wasn't a lot with the dress to begin with, so the gust of wind just whipped up her flimsy skirt. The poor girl was then left beaming away uncomfortably when her flesh-colored girdle made an unexpected public debut. The star tried not to let the moment get to the best of her, and she continued to smile for the cameras. While the moment could have been the perfect Marilyn Monroe moment, it just wasn't a good moment for Lindsay. Luckily for Lindsay, her friend was right by her side to help her fight the gust of air, but the help could have came a little sooner. Number 5. Katherine Heigl. So back in 2010, when Katherine Heigl was accepting the Showist Award for Female Star of the Year in Las Vegas, one of the straps of her dress would break, and it shocked the actress, and then she continued to try to make her acceptance speech. Access Hollywood host Billy Bush then immediately ran to her rescue and helped the star by holding her strap in place. Just after, Billy would take to Twitter to say that while he was hosting the awards in Las Vegas, Katherine's dress broke and he had to hold her top on while she was accepting the award. By the end of the night, it all seemed well as Katherine was able to regain her composure and finish her speech. Later, she went backstage and found pins so she could secure the strap so she could continue taking photos, and then she went on to praise Billy for all of his help. Number 4. Britney Spears. When Britney Spears kicked off her Piece of Me tour with a bang, she probably didn't intend it to come with a wardrobe malfunction while performing her song Do Something. A video captured by a fan and posted to YouTube would reveal that Britney was struggling to adjust her sparkly black bra behind a set wall mid-song. When she re-emerged from the behind makeshift prop, her chest was slightly exposed. Whether the pop princess failed to notice it or merely just chose to keep things moving on, she did finish out the rest of her number without fixing her top, and it definitely hasn't been her first wardrobe malfunction, as back in 2016 she also handled things like a pro when her bra popped open on stage during her Piece of Me show in Las Vegas, as the star could be seen quickly covering her chest with her hands until her backup dancers were able to refasten her top back up. Number 3. Cardi B. So in 2019, when Cardi made her second return to the stage following plastic surgery complications, the rapstress certainly made an impact at Bonnaroo Music Festival after she had a pretty embarrassing wardrobe malfunction. The press hitmaker was wearing a skin-tight, multicolored, all-in-one jumper which tore half down the seam while she was dancing and twerking around the stage. Trying not to let the mishap get the best of her, she quickly ran backstage and returned wearing a white bathrobe over the top of her underwear, and she managed to complete the rest of the set like that. Onlookers then went on to praise how Cardi handled the malfunction by claiming that Cardi being in a robe at Bonnaroo is a mood. And they definitely weren't wrong, as when the star walked on the stage she yelled "I'm back," and she was clearly living her best life as she danced the night away in her bathrobe. Number 2. Lil Nas X. When Lil Nas X made his Saturday Night Live musical guest debut on season 46 finale, while he was performing 2 of his recent singles in 2021, he ended up enduring a wardrobe malfunction on live television. During the rapper's Call Me By Your Name performance, Lil Nas X could be seen wearing a fire leather pant, which appeared to tear in the upper thigh area right after he was reenacting a part from the music video's controversial pole sequence. Later, Lil Nas would head to to his Twitter to say, "Not my pants ripped on live TV. OMFG, no, I wanted to do my pole routine so bad. This is what I get. LMAO." While the star didn't want to ruin his performance, he wanted to continue on with his set. For the remainder of the song, Lil Nas then went on to split his attention between both finishing out the song and noticeably keeping his pants intact. And it makes you wonder when performers are going to understand that the look of tight pants may be nice, but wearing pants that fit can actually prevent these malfunctions from happening. And this is why you do dress rehearsals in your outfits, and it's necessary to do so. Every dancer and performer knows this. Luckily for his second performance, his song "Sun Goes Down" went malfunction free, with the rapper contrasting the devilish hellscape with a more heavenly setting. Number 1. Khloe Kardashian. Over the last decade, Khloe Kardashian has had a handful of wardrobe malfunctions that she has had to handle like a boss. One of her most memorable clothing issues was when she suffered a noticeable chest slip on camera during a June 2011 appearance on Fox and Friends. While she was speaking with the show's host, Khloe accidentally exposed her chest for a few minutes into the interview while she was wearing a black sheer top. However, she didn't let the brief moment bring her down. Later in a post on Twitter, Khloe would state that she had a little slip up and she loved it, before tweeting that her mom even called her saying the incident was all over the internet and she didn't think this type of thing was so special. Khloe has also been pretty vocal about dreading clothing slip-ups, when she would admit that she was feeling frantic when she experienced a unique shirt malfunction backstage of the Ellen DeGeneres show. She would tell People magazine at the time that because she had a malfunction with her shirt, she had to scrunch over because she didn't have a shirt under her blazer.
In at number 10, Robert Downey Jr. At this point, it's pretty common knowledge that RDJ had a history of drug addiction, but what most people don't realize is that his issues all began at 6 years old. His father was a filmmaker and drug addict who gave his young son a joint to smoke at the age of 6. Downey claims that he was surrounded by drugs as a young child and often used drugs as a way to bond with his troubled father. He believed that when they did drugs together was his father's way of expressing love for him in the only way that he knew how. He nearly ended his acting career though after being arrested several times for possession of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana use, before spending a year in prison in 1999, which meant the cancellation of several acting jobs. Director Jodie Foster even caught him doing coke on the set of her movie called Home for the Holidays. She begged for him to get help, but Downey would continue to spiral out of control. After struggling even more with drug abuse between 2001 and 2003, Downey finally was able to kick the habit through a combination of the 12-step recovery program, meditation, yoga, and martial arts training. In at number 9, Vanilla Ice. Way back in 1999, before Jon Stewart was the host of The Daily Show, he was hosting a program on the set of MTV called MTV's Lame 25. On the show, the host would typically make fun of different music videos that had already aired on MTV, and then they would destroy the tape. I don't know why, it was just their thing to do. On one episode in particular, rapper Vanilla Ice came in at number 9 with his song Ice Ice Baby. The rapper was in the studio at the time of the criticisms, and he was planned to take to the set with a baseball bat and break the tape of his own song as per MTV's request. However, things didn't exactly go as planned. The jokes and comments must have really started to bug Vanilla Ice, because he didn't just break the tape. Vanilla Ice took that baseball bat to the entire set, smashing everything and scaring everyone in the process. Luckily, he was able to bounce back from this meltdown by reinventing himself as a DIY superstar on different home improvement networks. How ironic would it be though for MTV to call Vanilla Ice and have him build them a new set? That'd be pretty great. I'd love to see that. In at number 8, Alec Baldwin. It is a well-known fact that actor Alec Baldwin has gotten into trouble several times after his interactions with the paparazzi. There's no doubt that these creepy photographers do invade the personal space of celebrities, but that being said, violence has never made them leave you alone either. Baldwin has been at the center of several cases where he was accused and literally photographed physically attacking photographers. The first accusation was in 1995 when he reportedly punched a paparazzi so hard that he broke the man's nose. However, in all of these incidents, Baldwin was never charged. Baldwin had another crazy meltdown on an airplane after a flight attendant asked him to turn off his phone so that they could take off. The actor made a big stink and even tweeted more about his meltdown, saying, "Flight attendant on American reamed me out for playing Words with Friends while we sat at the gate not moving." That is a meltdown indeed when it ends up on Twitter. In at number 7, Nicolas Cage. Back in April of 2011, Academy Award winning actor Nick Cage was arrested in New Orleans on 1 count of domestic abuse and 1 count of disturbing the peace. According to the local police, Cage was witnessed arguing with his wife in front of their home around midnight. Police say that Cage grabbed his wife by her upper arm and dragged her towards their property. He then apparently began to strike cars in the immediate vicinity and even attempted to jump into a taxi when the police arrived. At that point, the police immediately observed that Cage was heavily intoxicated, and so they ordered him out of the cab, which prompted Nick to start yelling. Cage allegedly started yelling, "Why don't you just arrest me?" to the police, which is exactly what happened next. However, even though Nick was taken into custody and charged, his wife apparently did not want him charged and said that there was no actual physical contact between them during the fight. Regardless, still a meltdown. meltdown. In at number 6, Tom Cruise. It was the couch jump that truly rocked Hollywood and a side of the action hero Tom Cruise that we had never witnessed before. In short, it was a meltdown over passion for his newest love interest, Katie Holmes. At the time, Tom Cruise was one of the biggest celebrities in America, and he was already an established leading man with roles such as Top Gun and Jerry Maguire under his belt. He was appearing on the Oprah Winfrey Show though to promote his upcoming movie, which was Steven Spielberg's remake of War of the Worlds. However, instead of staying on script to his promo material, he could not stop gushing over his new girlfriend. Within 15 minutes of the interview, Tom had leapt onto Oprah's couch as Oprah struggled to find the words for his over-the-top infatuation. I think she just kept yelling, "He's gone. You're gone. This guy's crazy." In the moment, it was this very heartwarming thing to see though, but in hindsight, people watching that clip maybe through a GIF or just a series of photos, it looks like Tom is acting at a school for an interview, so by all accounts and without hearing the audience's reaction, this was categorized as one of Tom's biggest TV meltdowns, but he was just really happy. In number 5, David Hasselhoff. We all remember David Hasselhoff from his time on Baywatch, but in 2007 it seemed as though the Hoff had hit rock bottom. The weird part was that his daughter apparently filmed the whole debacle that ended up airing on the news. In the video, David was clearly drunk and apparently a little hungry. As he lay shirtless on the floor with his eyes beginning to shut, he does his best to pick apart a burger and feed it to himself, but the whole time he's doing this, Dave is just babbling in a drunken tone while falling over onto his food. In the video, you can actually hear his daughter Taylor begging him to grow up and even say, "You need to promise me you're not going to get alcohol tonight, okay?" Apparently Hasselhoff had asked his kids to film him anytime he falls off the wagon, I guess so that he can look back on it with shame and get his house in order. What a weird thing to make your kids do. In at number 4, Russell Crowe. Back in 2005, Russell Crowe was in Australia to promote his film that he had coming out. Shortly after 4 o'clock in the morning, Russell was having a difficult time trying to call his wife. So with his room phone not working, he went down to the concierge to use theirs. Crowe then got into an argument with the concierge, which led to him picking up the desk phone and throwing it out of anger and frustration. Unfortunately, in the process of doing this, the phone actually struck the hotel worker in the face. He was then arraigned on charges of 2nd-degree assault and 4th-degree criminal possession of a weapon. By the way, the weapon was the phone that he threw. The Oscar winner then pled guilty, and the judge gave him a conditional discharge, which essentially means that he can't be arrested in Australia ever again. In number 3, Michael Jackson. That is the king of pop hanging his baby blanket, yes, the baby's name was Blanket, out of a hotel window, Lion King style. This guy consistently buried his controversies by just manufacturing new ones. He was blasted by everyone online, calling him reckless and pointing out that he could have easily dropped his child in that moment, and here was his vague apology.
Any child. Try to kill them? Come on, stupid. And why would I put a scarf over the baby's face if I was trying to throw him off the balcony? We were waiting to thousands of fans down below.
For someone that was called the king of pop, you would think that he would be able to keep his cool, although these moments clearly show a celebrity that was out of control and in Michael's case, in desperate need of help. In at number 2, Britney Spears. The mid-2000s were certainly not kind to pop sensation Britney Spears. From a bitter divorce to having a very public meltdown, it was only a matter of time before she had her run-in with the law. In 2006, she was driving with her 4-month-old son on her lap when the police pulled her over, which is very illegal, by the way, yet because she's Britney Spears, there wasn't even a fine. Then just a year later, she was charged with a hit and run while also driving without a license. Initially, she was looking at a year in prison for this, but again, she ended up not even spending a minute behind bars. It really is a mystery how she was able to pull herself out of this downward spiral, but what's really concerning is how she managed to escape the law. Fame should definitely not exclude you from the repercussions of doing something illegal. Last but certainly not least, our number 1 spot, Michael Richards. Michael Richards is known for his role as Kramer on Seinfeld. He's funny on that show because he literally had Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David writing for him, the 2 funniest people in the world. Although, when the show ended, Kramer thought that he could just transition into stand-up comedy and be just as funny. Unfortunately, when his set was not going well at the Laugh Factory in Hollywood, he completely lost his mind and just buried his career. Someone heckled him, I guess, and then he went on to a tirade by screaming racial slurs and attacking the audience. It was so bad that a large majority of the crowd just up and left the club in the middle of his act. He was never able to redeem himself after this racist rant, and it will serve as a stark reminder that Kramer was never cool.
In at 10, Bjork. Oh, Bjork, she has had a rough life. Not only did she have to go through the grueling process of working with Lars von Trier, who she openly hated and admitted to spitting in his face every day, she also had a crazed stalker who ended up killing himself on camera, which in turn was uploaded to YouTube. So you can imagine Bjork would be a little high-strung. Well, back in 1996, Bjork arrived at the airport in Thailand, only to be greeted by paparazzi and reporters wanting interviews. The singer was with her children, and by the time one of the reporters stated, "Welcome to Thailand," she had had enough and began to attack her, knocking her to the ground and striking her repeatedly.
Cool. The British-born journalist was more stunned than injured.
It was not a good look for the singer. Violence is never the answer, but you can also understand a mother wanting to protect her children. Coming in at 9, Vanilla Ice. Remember Vanilla Ice, the one-hit wonder who blessed us with Ice Ice Baby? Ice Ice Baby. Well, he must have known his 15 minutes of fame were coming to an end back in 1999, because he accelerated his demise when he appeared on the MTV Lame 25. Prior to The Daily Show, Jon Stewart used to host a show along with Dennis Leary, Chris Kattan, and Janine Garofalo called MTV's Lame 25, where the host would make fun of music videos that aired on MTV's network and then would proceed to destroy the tape. However, on this particular occasion, the Vanilla Ice guilty pleasure found itself at number 9 on the list, so what went down? Well, the rapper proceeded to show up at the studio, as planned, and took a baseball bat to his tape for this song. However, it didn't stop there. He ended up taking the bat to the entire set, absolutely terrifying everyone in the process, something that definitely wasn't planned.
Popcorn for everybody. Sorry about the set there, guys. Well, the tape's fine. What? Everything else is no.
Coming in at 8, David Hasselhoff. It is common knowledge that former actor David Hasselhoff used to battle with alcohol and drug addiction. But things hit rock bottom for the actor back in 2007 when his daughter filmed him in his Las Vegas home on a bender and eating a burger. The Baywatch legend was seemingly as drunk as could be, so he ordered burgers and sloppily ate them on the floor of his bathroom, wearing nothing but a pair of blue jeans. This video is heartbreaking to watch and listen to because in the background you can hear a 16-year-old daughter begging for him to grow up. However, what makes this video interesting is that his daughter was filming him because David had reportedly asked her to if he were to ever fall off the wagon, and that he did. Thankfully, Hasselhoff got sober and is still a pop culture icon to this day, milking appearances and making the odd cameo in bad movies, even the Baywatch remake.
Because if you get alcohol tonight, you're fired from your show tomorrow. And the doctor is coming over here in the morning to check your alcohol level. And if you have any alcohol in your system, you're going to be fired from the show.
Coming in at 7, Michael Jackson. Back in 2002, Michael Jackson was still considered to be one of the greatest pop stars in the world, which is bizarre to me because at that point we all knew what went down at Neverland. But anyway, I digress. In 2002, Jackson was in his hotel room in Berlin, Germany, where there were a ton of paparazzi present outside of his suite. So what did the King of Pop decide to do? Well, he opened up his window and dangled his baby son Prince Michael II over the balcony. The crowd gasped in horror before the singer pulled the baby back and into his arms and went inside. This cemented everyone's belief that Michael Jackson was losing it, both professionally and personally, with the singer spending years following defending his bizarre actions. Coming in at 6, Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback to Hollywood was major news when he was cast as Iron Man in Marvel's first film in the MCU. It was huge for the actor who had openly struggled with addiction for years, even spending some time in jail, and even being fired from his sitcom Ally McBeal after being arrested for trespassing into a neighbor's property. He has an entire list of criminal things he has done in his past, so you can imagine he wouldn't be keen on talking about them, especially when he's promoting a huge blockbuster movie that is essentially salvaging his career. Well, the folks over at Channel 4 clearly didn't get that memo, with them probing the actor, asking him about his bad boy days and even about his relationship with his father before the actor finally reaches his breaking point.
And I just wondered whether, you think you're free of all of that, or whether that's still something.
I'm sorry, I really don't. What are we doing?
Well, I'm just asking questions.
Walking out, stating, "Sorry, it was just getting a little Diane Sawyer-y." Shots fired. Coming in at 5, Charlie Sheen. Back in 2011, Charlie Sheen gave a somewhat questionable interview on The Today Show about his firing from the CBS sitcom 2.5 Men. He discussed his recovery from addiction, but appeared completely erratic and unhinged while doing so.
Abusing alcohol. It's their show.
Epic behavior. After reading about that, then they observed the guy hitting every mark, nailing every line, every joke.
Not only did he make the word winning iconic and somewhat of a meme, but he also coined the phrase tiger blood, which is apparently what's running through his veins. Of course, as we know, Sheen was fired from the show for bad-mouthing the creator Chuck Lorre, which he discussed in this very strange interview, making the bold claim that his passion is often perceived as anger. Dude, there was nothing passionate about your remarks. Get a grip. Coming in at 4, Kanye West. What could he have possibly done? Well, I think you know. And if not, well, you're in for a treat. Back in 2009 at the Video Music Awards, folks were happily in their seats watching on as Taylor Swift was announced as the winner for Best Female Video for her work on You Belong to Me. She was happy, others were happy, however, not everyone, and certainly not Kanye West, who had to express openly on the stage how unhappy he was. Kanye took to the stage, grabbed the award and the mic from Taylor's hand, stating, "Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'll let you finish, but Beyonce has one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time." The room went silent, everyone was cringing in discomfort, and of course, the camera cuts to Beyonce, perhaps cringing more than anyone. Kanye then left the stage, forcing Taylor to have to deal with the cleanup. Thankfully, Kanye was booted out of the award show for his antics, which resulted in the "Is Kanye okay?" trend that circulated around the internet for a while. Meanwhile, Taylor was crying backstage. But hey, at least she won. Coming in at 3, Shia LaBeouf. Everyone loves Jerry's Deli, is one of the greatest places to grab a sandwich in downtown LA. However, back in 2017, it seems Shia LaBeouf went there for an entirely different reason. He was having a few drinks, until those drinks became a few too many, and when Shia asked the bartender for some french fries, he refused. The actor proceeded to call the server the N-word, but it didn't end there. These racist tirades happened once again, but this time when he was pulled over in Georgia, with Shia proceeding to tell the officer, "You're going to hell. Straight to hell, bro." Both incidents negatively impacted Shia's career, with it becoming public knowledge that some casting directors are too scared to hire him because they don't know what they're going to get. Coming in at 2, Christian Bale. Remember the film Terminator Salvation? Yeah, me either. But apparently it was a thing that happened and we all seemingly missed it. For the best, probably. Well, anyway, back in February 2009, while on the set of this god-awful movie, Christian Bale had a little hissy fit. During one particular scene, a director of photography entered Bale's field of view while he was filming. So, what did he do? He shut it down, stating, "What the F are you walking right through? What the F is it with you? What don't you effing understand? You got any effing idea about, hey, it's effing distracting having somebody walking up behind Bryce in the middle of the effing scene? Give me an effing answer. Why don't you get it?" Yeah, that happened.
What don't you get about it?
I was looking at the light.
Oh, good for you!
Lesson number 1, if you ever find yourself working alongside Christian Bale, don't walk into a shop. Don't even look his way, better yet just leave the building and don't return. Although I will give it to Bale, he had his entire meltdown while doing an American accent. I applaud that. And finally, coming in at number 1, Tom Cruise. Of course, could anything possibly top Tom Cruise's infamous and crazy interview back in 2005 on the Oprah Winfrey Show? No, definitely not. Back in 2005, Cruise was on the top of the world, promoting his newest film, The War of the Worlds, directed by Steven Spielberg. However, things didn't go quite according to plan during his interview with Oprah, who proceeded to ask him about his relationship with actress Katie Holmes. Cruise clearly couldn't read the room because he proceeded to stand up on the sofa and jump up and down, spouting out his love for Holmes. Now, the audience cheered along, but most viewers were uncomfortable and a little scared. Following the incident, his public image took a hit, with Cruise coming off unstable, with folks focusing more on his Scientology beliefs and his bizarre antics.
First up, we have Zach Galifianakis. The 2009 movie The Hangover catapulted Bradley Cooper to A-list status, and its subsequent sequels only helped to cement his place as Hollywood royalty. But despite starring alongside some well-liked comedians, Cooper and his co-stars apparently had some behind-the-scenes tension that came to the surface when a promotional event for The Hangover 3 in Brazil went badly after Zach Galifianakis refused to attend. The gossip behind the scenes is that there was a disagreement between the team the night before the event. Although it's unclear what the disagreement was about, Glamorama magazine also reported the stars were 3 hours late and branded Bradley as a diva. However, according to Page 6, the drama was actually down to a much simpler reason, which Warner Brothers confirmed in a press release. Zach Galifianakis is apparently afraid of heights, and the movie's press conference was on a peak in Brazil. An insider reportedly told Page 6 that, quote, the only way to get up there was by cable car, so Zach didn't personally appear, although he called into the press conference to let participants know and made a few jokes. Next up, we have Zoe Saldana. Bradley Cooper and Zoe dated on and off from 2011 to 2012 after meeting on the set of The Words. A source confirmed to E! News that the couple broke up just before New Year's Eve, seeing in 2013 separately. And even though they worked together since on the Guardians of the Galaxy, it seems as though there's no love lost between them. Saldana moved on just months later and was first spotted with her now husband, artist Marco Perego, in May 2013. The reason it's thought that Cooper and Saldana's relationship ended badly is because the actress told Marie Claire in 2014, quote, I've been in relationships where a man has disrespected me, and I don't need to be friends with that man anymore. There's a reason why you're called an ex. You cross a line. You need to know that you're going to walk this earth knowing that there's an individual who has no respect for you. Granted, Zoe didn't specifically name Bradley as the ex, but according to Us Weekly, the Avatar star was only romantically linked to one other person who she was with 11 years prior to hooking up with Cooper. Next up, we have Yolanda Hadid. Yolanda's daughter Gigi Hadid and Bradley have been dating for nearly a year now, but the supermodel mom doesn't seem to be pleased with any of Gigi's love interests. When Gigi was dating Zayn Malik from One Direction, there was constant drama between the mom and Zayn. The former One Direction singer was charged with 4 counts of harassment after an incident in September 2021, which he allegedly, quote, grabbed Yolanda and shoved her into a dresser at their Pennsylvania home. Reports also claim that Zayn got caught in an alleged dispute with Yolanda in which she claimed the singer, quote, struck her. Gigi has had many A-lister boyfriends before Bradley that include Leo DiCaprio, Cody Simpson, Joe Jonas, and even Lewis Hamilton. Next up, let's discuss the drama between Bradley and Barbra Streisand. While most people are pretty happy about the latest remake of A Star Is Born, one person was apparently mad about not being offered a part in the movie. According to a report in The Express, as the lead in the 1976 version of A Star Is Born, Barbra Streisand wanted a cameo in Bradley Cooper's update, but the director, Bradley, was not receptive. Per a so-called friend of Barbra, the superstar feels offended that nobody seemed to even want to acknowledge her, let alone take any of her advice. However, speaking to the New York Times in October 2018, Barbra made it clear that Cooper had been in touch with her about the movie and had even shown her a clip before its release. When asked if she'd seen the movie yet, Barbra replied, "I haven't seen it completed. Bradley did show me the opening. I was surprised by how similar it was to my version." While her initial comments could be construed as shade, Barbra noted some things she really liked about what she'd seen so far. "I love how he used the drag bar. Thought that was new and interesting. What I've seen of the film I really liked, but we sadly might never know if the superstar is secretly salty about not scoring a role in the remake." Next up, we have Jennifer Esposito, Bradley's ex and only wife. Jennifer and Bradley got engaged in 2006, and their wedding took place in France just 2 months later in December 21st, 2006. The stars were married for 4 short months, and there's still a lot of mystery surrounding their quick courtship. In a 2011 interview with Howard Stern, Cooper called the marriage just something that happened, and that he and Esposito ultimately figured out it just wasn't right. Meanwhile, Esposito once described a certain relationship gone wrong, which was widely rumored to be about Bradley in her book, Jennifer's Way. I should have noticed the red flags from the beginning. Actually, there were more like an entire marching band squad of red flags, but I ignored them. He was funny, smart, cocky, arrogant, and a master manipulator. He also had a mean, cold side. His personality could flip on a dime. Within days, my relationship hit an all-time low, and within a week, it was over. Abruptly, rudely, and with the exact callousness that I'd come to expect from him, but this time, I did nothing but agree to end it. Next up, we have Jennifer Lawrence. While Jennifer Lawrence and Bradley Cooper have worked together on several occasions and appear to be friends in real life, there's apparently one thing she cannot stand about him. During an appearance on BBC's The Graham Norton Show on May 23rd, 2013, Bradley revealed that following an on-screen kiss, Jennifer told him, "You're a wet kisser." Cooper joked that her review of his kissing technique hurt his feelings, explaining, "You never want to hear that. It was not a compliment." Next up, we have Nico Case. American musician Nico Case, definitely not a fan of Bradley or his directorial debut, and she's not afraid to say so. In a series of tweets posted in September 2018, Case made it clear she didn't like the newest version of A Star Is Born or its leading man and director, Bradley Cooper. Case is known for her solo music and her work with her new band, and much of her criticism with The Wedding Crashers star seems to be related to his portrayal of a musician in the movie. As she wrote on Twitter, Bradley Cooper is the beige demon who makes sure very standard white dudes get to be in everything. He turns a scene to damp sugar quicksand with his treacly fingers and convinces convinces you his vile incantations are him speaking some adorable French, I will fight him. Stand back. As if her initial tweet wasn't strong enough, she followed it up with a statement, quote, the trailer sent me off a very unreasonable cliff, which is pretty self-explanatory. As if that wasn't enough, Case also then tweeted, I want to vomit into Bradley's dewy man-child eyes. F off. Wow. Bradley's ex, Irina Shayk, has some honest things to say about why her and Bradley broke up after 4 years of dating and also having a daughter together. Bradley Cooper and Irina have reportedly split because the supermodel wanted more commitment from him. Irina decided to end her relationship with Bradley at the end of 2019 because she was reportedly fed up, grueling work schedule. A source told Entertainment Tonight, Irina truly had high hopes for their future together and felt once the baby was born they would find the time to marry, but it never came fruition. She wanted more from Bradley in every single way, but she was unhappy and felt he spent too much time working. Recently, Irina decided enough is enough. She didn't feel that she was getting the level of commitment she wanted, and the endless fighting made their life unbearable. They're very different people, and once they realized it was the baby that was holding them together, it was time to call it quits. Bradley is also getting the heat online for the way he directed Maestro, the life of Leonard Bernstein. In an interview with Spike Lee for Variety, Cooper said, quote, when we shoot the movie, no one is allowed on set, for clarifying that producer Steven Spielberg was the only exception. Steven Spielberg came 3 times, but other than him, there's no one. It has to be a sanctuary. But when I direct, I don't watch playback, he also said. There are no chairs. Always hated chairs on sets. Your energy dips the moment you sit down in a chair. His comments sparked some serious backlash online. For Bradley Cooper and everybody else who needs to hear it, you'll get the best work out of people when they feel safe, included, and that their needs are met. You have to create harsh conditions to get people to work. You're simply not good at leading. It's a skill issue, wrote one person on X. Sorry, but completely able-bodied people are not performing at their best when they've been standing 14 hours, another person wrote. Lastly, let's discuss his recent Maestro interview that did not go over well with fans. He was with me, certainly, throughout the entire time. His energy has somehow found its way to me, and I really do feel like I know him, Bradley Cooper, referring to Leonard Bernstein. Bradley reportedly never met Leonard, though, as he died in 1990. One user commented on Reddit saying, this man is so cringe. Another remarked, I really don't like him at all. He's the most overrated actor out there. J-Lo's new Amazon Prime documentary and musical movie has caused quite a stir over the last week, especially in the Affleck-Lopez household. Once a couple 20 years ago, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are now back together, and fans are. Ben is reportedly angry with Jennifer currently after her new movie about their love life was recently released. Insiders told The Heat that Affleck was reportedly scared that J-Lo's new film, This Is Me Now, would ruin his career, and apparently that fear has not dissipated. There is a very real risk that this film will not get the reaction she is expecting. Ben's been complaining to friends this could end up being Gigli 2.0, they said. It will be especially embarrassing for him considering the career that he has built up and how seriously he takes his projects. He is scared he's made a big mistake getting involved. This is the second project they've worked on together, and since Gigli was so panned by critics, receiving a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes and losing over $60 million at the box office, it seems as though Affleck has been worried about the same treatment, and it allegedly caused problems in their marriage. Ben Affleck also recently admitted the romance forced him to make major compromises. Jennifer was really inspired by this experience, which is how artists do their work, Affleck said. They get inspired by their personal life. It moves you. I know as a writer and director, I certainly do the same things, but things that are private, I always felt are sacred and special, in part because they are private. So this was something of an adjustment for me. At a screening earlier this week for the documentary, Lopez said that her husband was a, quote, reluctant participant in the whole thing. According to People, she told the audience during a Q&A session, the other scary part was that I was bringing into it my husband, who was kind of the reluctant participant and a silent participant and all. Affleck still admits his hesitancy with having the spotlight on their relationship. It's the first time that she's done something as an artistic form of expression that was purely for the sake of what she had to express. It was about bringing out the things she felt inside that she just wanted to say, Affleck said. And I don't really love being in the making of a documentary about my personal life, which is why I'm so relieved that it's not really, and it seems like I might be in this, but not really. I was worrying for no reason. The movie wasn't about me, it was about the ability to love yourself, and that love story is a lot effing harder to find than Prince Charming. Celebrity matchmaker Alessandra Conti notes that there's been a shift in how the public engages with famous couples. Navigating the complexities of fame and having a very public relationship was challenging back in the early 2000s, but now it has reached a different level. Every couple who is remotely in the public eye experiences an intense level of scrutiny, especially with the dawn of social media, she told Fox News. However, J-Lo and Ben have kept a relatively low profile when it comes to social media, and although they're supporting each other at professional events, they have kept the intimate details of their relationship private. This is a smart strategy, and as long as their privacy is maintained, it is a sustainable situation for him and J-Lo. Ben also needs to understand that whoever he dates, he will be scrutinized in the public eye. This is one of the trade-offs of fame, she says. In the documentary, the couple admitted they, quote, just crumbled under the pressure of being a tabloid phenomenon, and it put a strain on their relationship, leading them to call off their 2003 wedding 3 days before it was supposed to happen. I had a very firm sense of boundaries initially around the press. Well, Jen, I don't think objected to it the way I did. I very much did object to it, Affleck said. Getting back together, I said, listen, one of the things I don't want is a relationship on social media. And then I realized it's not a fair thing to ask. It's sort of like you're gonna marry a boat captain, you want to like the water. We're just two people with kind of different approaches trying to learn to compromise. J-Lo is no stranger to headlines and tabloid drama though. Let's go down memory lane and rehash some of J-Lo's most shocking controversies. In 2020, Shakira and J-Lo co-headlined the Super Bowl halftime show, and she was accused of throwing some serious shade at Shakira. Lopez was seen getting into a heated debate with an NFL producer about her idea to have caged child performers on stage, a reference to the living conditions that youngsters face at border detention centers. She said, I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing butts and effing belly dancing. I want something real. I want something that's gonna make a statement, that's gonna say that we belong here and we have something to offer. The use of the term belly dancing, something which Shakira is very famous for, left many believing that she was dismissing her co-star's contributions. Jennifer Lopez was also accused of being insensitive to her husband's addiction issues in 2023 when she launched her own brand of alcoholic cocktails. The Let's Get Loud singer put her famous name to Dalola, a range of drinks created with mixologist Lynette Marrero. But having only just walked down the aisle with Ben Affleck, a recovering alcoholic, this latest business venture left a sour taste for some fans. There's also a rumor that J-Lo didn't used to sing on her old records. Rumors had been circulating for years that Jennifer Lopez had more than a little vocal help on hits such as Play, Ain't It Funny, and I'm Real. And in 2014, fellow R&B star Ashanti appeared to confirm that these tracks were essentially uncredited duets. Jenny from the Block is another Lopez banger whose chorus you may struggle to hear the lead artist on. In 2019, Natasha Ramos said J-Lo did indeed go in the studio and lay down background vocals over my voice. So I wouldn't say that she's so much lip syncing. However, the backgrounds are predominantly me, some ad-libs and laughs as well. Luckily, Ramos doesn't hold a grudge against the Hollywood star, but does against her label for failing to give her proper credit. Last year on TikTok, there was a viral trend going around, fans exposing J-Lo horror stories, and some of these are shocking. One woman described the experience of helping J-Lo at Foot Locker. She said Lopez, quote, cussed me out because the store didn't have the correct size for the shoes she wanted to buy her twins. But that was nothing compared to the story another woman had after Lopez came to stay in a house where she used to work as a maid. She described how a nail artist was called in to give Lopez a pedicure in bed, which the nail tech had to do upside down because Lopez, who was laying on her stomach, refused to roll over onto her back. And if you're thinking of making eye contact with J-Lo, never do it. A TikToker who says that her father worked as a driver for a car car company, often used by J-Lo, said that even a driver glancing in the rear view mirror sparked Lopez to berate him for invading her privacy. Unsurprisingly, her father eventually refused to drive Jennifer ever again. J-Lo's new Amazon Prime movies aren't getting the best hype, as some say it is the worst movie ever made. One reviewer made a list called "The Reasons Why This Sucked." I had no idea what was going on in the movie, she says. There was no theme, actually. There were too many themes. There were so many talented artists in the movie who were used more as props. They should have had a bigger role. She goes on to say, "This movie seems like an ode to herself for nailing down a man, Ben Affleck. It's not really about love. This is a movie about conquering a man." She's basically telling everybody that the other relationships that her and Ben had were just filler until they could be together again. Her kids and Ben kids are going to be watching this. Do they really need to know how much she loves sleeping with their dad? We all know it's not her voice singing those songs, and then she continues by saying, "And if it is, auto-tune should get a lot of the credit." She is narcissistic, over the top, and way too in love with herself. For people clicking more than 2 stars, did you actually watch it, or are you just clicking on 5 stars because you love this ego maniac? Yikes. Alright, back to Ben and Jennifer. More inside details of their private life were released in her accompanying documentary that was just released this past week. Early in the documentary, Lopez reveals that she showed her musical collaborators a collection of letters that Affleck gave to her as a gift. "This book is a book that Ben gave me on our first Christmas back together. It's every letter and email that we wrote to each other from 20 years ago and today," she says. The cover of the thick binder says, "Handwritten, the greatest love story never told by Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck, 2001 to 2022 and counting." Jennifer explains, "It became like our Bible and we just left it there in the studio." Ben Affleck, however, was surprised their correspondences were made public. "I was like, you've been showing all the musicians all these letters?" And they were like, "Yeah, we call you Pen Affleck," he recalls in the documentary. "I did really find the beauty and the poetry and the irony in the fact that it's the greatest love story never told, and if you're making a record about it, that seems kinda like you're telling it." He adds later that he had to adjust to the change. "But things that are private, I've always felt are sacred and special because they're private, so this was something of an adjustment for me." First off, we have Taylor Swift. Swift and Beyonce seem to be on good terms now, constantly photographed at award shows together and supporting each other's concert movies, but years ago, Taylor and Queen Bee had some tension formed between them by Kanye West. As Taylor Swift was giving her Best Female Video Acceptance speech for You Belong With Me at the 2009 MTV Awards, Kanye went on stage, took the microphone from her and said, "Yo Taylor, I'm really happy for you, I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time." One of the best videos of all time, referring to the music video for Single Ladies. As the live audience booed him, Kanye handed the microphone back to Taylor, shrugged his shoulders, and walked off stage. Next up, we have Carrie Hilson. The beef started back in 2009 after Carrie's Beyonce diss track surfaced. "Your vision cloudy if you think you the best. You can dance, you can sing, but need to move it to the left," she sang. "She needs to go have some babies. She needs to sit down. She fake. Them other chicks ain't even worth talking about." The R&B singer remained tight-lipped about her alleged 2009 diss track for years, but many believe the "Turning on Me" lyrics mentioned qualities that hinted towards Beyonce. Many believed Carrie dissed Beyonce with the lines about moving it to the left, and this seemed to be a reference to Beyonce's 2006 song Irreplaceable. According to a report in Cheat Sheet in 2011, the Carrie Hilson-Beyonce beef reached newer heights when Carrie refused to hold the newest issue of Juicy magazine after noticing Beyonce and Jay-Z were on the cover. The internet then began to hate on Hilson for the evil way she has been treating Beyonce. As the internet hate grew severe and became unbearable, Carrie took to Twitter in 2013. The singer wrote, "You have no idea what your hateful words could do to someone's spirit. Years of verbal abuse from strangers all day long. Enough is enough." Next, let's discuss Beyonce's alleged rude restaurant behavior. Multiple servers have made an assortment of claims about her. Although Beyonce might seem down to earth at times, she also also has a $70 million yacht, so it makes sense that there might be some stories of her behaving in a rude manner. In 2002 and 2006, a waitress says that Beyonce was very, very rude to her. According to the post on Quora.com, she first encountered the singer at Papa De, a restaurant in Houston, Texas, and Beyonce wouldn't look her in the eyes. Solange, Beyonce's sister, was nice, but Beyonce wasn't, she says. The waitress also came across Beyonce in 2006 at the NBA All-Star Game, which took place at the Houston, Texas Center. As the server posted, again, incredibly rude. I get you are famous, but a true queen has class. So in my opinion, Queen Bee, or whatever she's called, can kiss my you-know-what. There's another story out there about a restaurant order connected to Beyonce. According to LouisvilleFuture.com, Beyonce was signing at the KFC Yum Center in December 2013, and Beyonce and the people working for her ordered a ton of food. Someone who worked for her came into a restaurant called Highlands Buffalo Wild Wings and paid for the $900 bill. The order was 4 salads, 5 burgers, fish tacos, fried shrimp, 20 chicken tenders, more than 100 wings, and more than 100 boneless wings. The problem? Not only did Beyonce's employee not leave any tip, which is impossible to believe when the restaurant bill is almost $1,000, but they weren't polite when ordering either. Mahogany Lucas, the cashier, even gave the employee free food, and there wasn't a tip there either. They said the employee was very rude and demanded the food be ready soon. Next we have Kim Kardashian, who allegedly is not a fan of Beyonce. It's well known that Beyonce and the Kardashians are not friends, and it's believed the reason for this is because Jay-Z and Kanye's ongoing feud. The power couple didn't attend Kim and Kanye's wedding, despite Jay-Z previously being his mentor and a main player in kickstarting his career. In April 2018, Kanye told radio host Charlemagne that thank God their feud began after the couple snubbed his wedding. According to Page 6, sources told the publication that Beyonce, who keeps most of her family life private, didn't like that Kanye was participating in keeping up with the Kardashians. Beyonce always gives Kanye a lot of grief whenever he does anything for the show, they said. Another source told the publication that Kim and Kanye's obsession with fame irritates Beyonce. And Beyonce reportedly owned Kim K in a tense phone call. Beyonce flipped out on Kim when Kim called her to try and soothe tensions after Kanye's 2016 hospitalization, a source told the website. Basically, she told Kim to never ever contact her or her husband again, and said stuff like she thought that the two of them are made for each other because they're both talentless and pathetic. Next up, we have Wendy Williams. When Beyonce was set to release her HBO special, Life is But a Dream, Wendy Williams was quick to say, I am a Beyonce fan. I'm gonna watch her upcoming documentary because fortunately, one of the TVs in our kitchen has closed captioning, so I'll be able to understand what she says. The audience began laughing nervously before Wendy went in for the kill. You know, Beyonce can't talk. She sounds like she has a 5th grade education, she says. This did not go over well at all with Williams' audience, who responded with several boos. Excuse me, I just said I was a fan, she said, but we have to call a spade a spade. Next up, we have Azealia Banks. Azealia has a lot to say about everything and anything except her own music that apparently is not doing too hot. In 2016, following the release of Beyonce's album Lemonade, Banks was quick to respond to writer Ta-Nehisi Coates' praise of the singer's work. I don't think for a second that Beyonce was intelligent enough to come up with any of those ideas on her own, she tweeted, but there is an update on the drama as just a few weeks ago, Azealia made another comment about her. Beyonce announced details of her new album Renaissance Act 2 during the Super Bowl, and as soon as the commercial concluded, Beyonce released the project's first 2 singles, Texas Hold'em and 16 Carriages, and the banjo twang of the former and the slow pacing of the latter both seem to confirm ongoing speculation Beyonce was planning on releasing a country-flavored album. Now, Azealia has spoken up, warning her fellow performer that she was making a mistake. In an Instagram Stories post, she said about the new material, there's nothing country about it. You're setting yourself up to be ridiculed again. There's a theatrical element to country music. The critics are not just going to accept an ugly blonde wig and bullying from Jay-Z. It's giving big-time musical grift. Yes, black girls can make country music, she continued, but you're just really not hitting the button. button. Next up, we have the controversial Rudy Giuliani. Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor of New York City, took issue with Beyonce's 2016 Super Bowl halftime show. During the performance, she debuted her single Formation and paid homage to the Black Panthers, Malcolm X, and the Black Lives Matter movement. Giuliani interpreted her show as an affront to law enforcement. "This is football, not Hollywood," Giuliani told Fox and Friends after the big game. "I thought it was really outrageous that she used it as a platform to attack police officers who are the people who protect her and protect us and keep us alive." Giuliani argued that the Super Bowl is for middle America and that the NFL should be providing, quote, decent, wholesome entertainment to that audience rather than political messages. Giuliani's criticism of Beyonce received serious backlash of their own. Included on that list, former Destiny's Child group member Kelly Rowland said in an interview with Us Weekly that, quote, Giuliani should just shut up. Next up, we have actress Sonia Lathan was accused of flirting with Jay-Z and biting Beyonce in the face at a party in December 2017. Yes, you heard that right. Comedian Tiffany Haddish told GQ that an unnamed actress was getting too close for comfort to Jay-Z at a party, so Beyonce allegedly intervened. And by intervened, we mean she supposedly said, "Jay, come here, this B-word," and snatched him. At least, that's how Tiffany Haddish remembers it. Haddish said one of Beyonce's friends later told her that this B-word just bit Beyonce. Wow. Next up, we have Kid Rock. The born-free and cowboy rocker threw some serious shade at Beyonce in an interview with Rolling Stone. He told the music magazine that he is, quote, flabbergasted by the attention she receives. "Beyonce to me doesn't have an effing purple rain, but she's the biggest thing on earth," he said. "How can you be that big without at least one Sweet Home Alabama or old-time rock and roll? People are like, Beyonce's hot, she's got a nice effing butt." I'm like, cool, I like skinny white chicks. Doesn't really effing do much for me. Beyonce has not responded to Kid Rock's offensive remarks. However, Beyonce fans, called the Beehive, have taken action to defend their Grammy Award-winning queen in a way only the Beehive could, by flooding his Instagram page with bee emojis. And then Kid Rock later posted a photo of bee repellent. Yikes. Lastly, we have Fox News presenter Bill O'Reilly. The famously right-wing host labeled Beyonce's video for the song Partition as, quote, exploitative garbage, and suggested it will encourage pregnancy among teen African-American females. First up, we have Dakota Johnson. Dakota is the daughter of Don Johnson, an actor and film producer, and Melanie Griffith, a famous actress. Although Dakota has had a successful acting career starring in films like 50 Shades of Grey and The Social Network, she has been involved in numerous controversies, but let's discuss her current one. Madame Web. Madame Web has been one of the worst rated movies of any Marvel associated movie, earning a whopping 13% on Rotten Tomatoes. The film's implosion comes after its star, Dakota Johnson, often appears notably disinterested and dismissive of the movie and the superhero genre in general during a promotional tour that some social media users described as unhinged. During an appearance on Magic FM earlier this week, Johnson revealed that she, quote, hadn't actually seen Madame Web. The actress added that she tends to sneak out the back door at her movie premieres and go have dinner. "I probably won't. I don't know when I'll see it," Johnson said of Madame Web. Meanwhile, in an MTV interview, the host noted that there was a scene in the movie in which Johnson's character dies for 3 minutes. After Johnson appeared confused, the host asked, "Do you remember that?" "She does? I haven't seen the movie," Dakota says, but you could be right. Next up, we have Olivia Jade, the daughter of Full House star Lori Loughlin. She posed for rowing photos and acted like she didn't know what was happening. One Reddit user fumed. If you don't know the whole rowing controversy, let me quickly explain. In 2018, Olivia's parents tried to get her into USC, University of Southern California, as crew athletes, despite Olivia never actually being a rower. her. The parents were arrested in March 2019 and were accused by federal prosecutors of paying $500,000 to ensure that both their daughters, including Olivia, would be accepted to USC. Next up, we have Kendall Jenner. Born into the Kardashian family, Kendall has always known fame, but she has been involved in an insane amount of controversies. Remember the Pepsi commercial which depicted her resolving a racial protest by handing a police officer a can of Pepsi? Yeah, that one was bad. The commercial was immediately branded tone deaf and offensive, with Pepsi pulling it the next day. Kendall's ad for her new tequila brand is also being met with backlash after many felt it was cultural appropriation. Since announcing that she was entering the tequila business in 2021, Kendall launched her 818 tequila with an advertisement promoting the product. In the 818 ad, Jenner can be seen riding a horse through an agave farm in Mexico, wearing braided pigtails before cheersing her liquor with native farmers. The Keeping Up with the Kardashian star is now facing criticism for the video, with many accusing her of appropriating Mexican culture. No, Miss Kendall, we do not ride in horses all the time. No, we do not wear our hair in braids all the time. No, workers do not get to drink the tequila. Also, that's not the way you drink it. Workers do not work with that kind of clothes. And finally, your advertisement is so whitewashed / California vibes. Jalisco is not California, so don't try to make it that way, said one Twitter user on a thread that has been liked over 25,000 times. Next up, we have Jaden Smith, son of Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith. Jaden was a successful actor starring in The Karate Kid in 2010, but eventually took a long break from acting after performing in a horrible movie with his dad, a sci-fi movie called After Earth. Unfortunately, although it was highly anticipated, the film was a catastrophic flop. Not only did After Earth tank at the box office, but according to Reuters, the film earned 3 Golden Raspberry Award nominations in 2014 for the worst cinematic performances. Both Smith and his father, Will Smith, accepted awards of shame. Jaden won the Worst Actor Award, while Will accepted the Worst Supporting Actor Award. Together, they took home the grand prize for Worst Screen Combination. In his memoir, Will Smith expressed his remorse regarding the film. After Earth was an abysmal box office and critical failure, he wrote, and what was worse was that Jaden took the hit. Fans and the press were absolutely vicious. Jaden had faithfully done everything that I'd instructed him to do, and I had coached him into the worst public mauling he'd ever experienced. Next, we have Tom Hanks' son, Chet Hanks. Although he's the son of one of the most recognizable actors in the world, that hasn't stopped him from doing the following: threatening Howard Stern with physical violence, dropping the N-word repeatedly on Instagram, getting his parents sued for a car accident he allegedly caused, and getting addicted to substances and going to rehab. According to Chet, that last one was the reason for all the other stuff, which he revealed in a series of Instagram videos after completing his stint in rehab. He is also known to use an offensive Jamaican accent. In pure Tom Hanks fashion, he approached his black sheep son with the same gregarious nature with which he's built his entire career. He told Entertainment Tonight, quote, "As a parent, you love your kids unconditionally. You support them every step of the way. You got to applaud the bravery and honesty when it actually comes out of your own house." The good news, as of this video, Chet has been on the straight and narrow. He is sober and following in his parents' footsteps, pursuing an acting and music career. Next, we have Gigi Hadid, daughter of Real Housewives star Yolanda Hadid. Gigi made the headlines after drama between her and ex-Zayn Malik from One Direction got publicly released a few years ago. 1 year after the former One Direction member welcomed daughter Kai with Gigi, he has been accused of harassing her mother, Yolanda. She cut herself off from all her friends every time they were together, the source said at the time. Gigi focused all her time and energy on Zayn, but it just got to be too much, the source says. 1 year later, Us Weekly broke the news in January 2020 that they were back on, and she gave birth to the first child that September. The twosome lived in Pennsylvania during Gigi's pregnancy amid the coronavirus pandemic, spending time with Yolanda and Gigi's siblings, Bella Hadid and Anwar Hadid. 2 months later, Zayn allegedly got physical with Yolanda during an incident on September September 29th, 2021. The details of the fight remained under wraps until a month later when TMZ published a report that claimed he, quote, struck the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills alum. Zayn defended himself through a lengthy Twitter statement. As you all know, I am a private person, and I very much want to create a safe and private space for my daughter Kai to grow up in, he wrote at the time, implying that Gigi's mom Yolanda leaked the story. Next, let's discuss Rosie O'Donnell's daughter, Chelsea. Chelsea has thrown so much shade at her mom in the press that it would make even the most angelic moms angry. During an interview with the Daily Mail, Chelsea claimed Rosie smokes constantly, gorges on junk food, and is inattentive to her kids. Chelsea also claimed that she was, quote, pretty much raised by nannies. And that is not all. Chelsea said that she was heartbroken after being shipped off to 2 boarding schools, which resulted in 4 years of estrangement from her mother. After Chelsea finally returned to Rosie's home at 17 years old, they couldn't last a year living together before, according to Chelsea, Rosie kicked her out of the house. Rosie claimed that Chelsea went missing and even involved the police, but Chelsea told a different story. Rosie had 2 of my bags packed with clothes. Literally 10 minutes after the police dropped me off at the house, I got in a car and I went to a friend's house. Yikes. This is a lot, I know, and at the heart of everything is Chelsea's alleged mental health issues. She hasn't denied struggling with depression and also anxiety, but she felt it was unfair that her mother made her issues public. As for Rosie O'Donnell's take on the entire ordeal, my teenagers are a nightmare. They're horrible, she once quipped to a crowd. Next up, we have a Nepo baby who reportedly shoplifts. Rudy Giuliani's daughter, Caroline, was arrested for shoplifting about $100 worth of cosmetics from Sephora. For her crime, Caroline received the penalty of 1 day of community service. Not too bad, Caroline. Not too bad. Next up, we have Lily Rose Depp, Johnny Depp's daughter. Other than starring in the very controversial TV show last year, The Idol, with The Weeknd, she is known for her erratic behavior in public. A Reddit thread titled "Is Lily Rose Depp okay?" went viral recently, and some users share their opinions on the Nepo star. I've heard her new girlfriend is a regular user, and people speculated Lily is now partaking in those activities more regularly too. As a result, I have absolutely no proof of that though, I'm just relaying what I've heard. Hope she's alright, one user says. Another commented on her physical appearance, saying, eating issues can be a lifelong struggle with relapses. I speculate that she might have fallen back into one of these relapses. Hopefully she has a network of support to help her get to a better place. Lastly, we have Timothée Chalamet. Timothée's mom is a famous Broadway actor. Timothée posed alongside Zendaya on the Dune 2 red carpet in South Korea earlier last week. He donned a gray leather jumpsuit and pouted at the cameras. Zendaya matched the actor and donned a pink jumpsuit, but put her spin on it by wearing it off the shoulder and belted at the waist. But fans noticed Timothée seemed to look somber while posing and flocked to Reddit to discuss their thoughts. Someone schedule a wellness check for Chalamet, one user said. Another saying, can we stop giving these people more attention? They're a bunch of talentless, greedy culture vultures who are helping destroy our planet. And before anybody comes after me, I've never been a Timmy fan. He's an overhyped mayo man in my opinion.
Starting off with a man living up to his name, Jonathan Majors has turned out to be a major disappointment. His Hollywood career was very promising, including multiple blockbusters and hit TV shows, most notably Creed 3 and Marvel's Loki. His role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe was Kang the Conqueror, the next major Marvel supervillain. He was featured in both seasons of Loki and Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which is set for release in 2026. However, March of 2023 has shifted those plans. Jonathan Majors' girlfriend at the time found text on his phone suggesting infidelity, which led to a heated argument between the two. The disagreement turned violent and Majors was arrested and later convicted with 2 offenses, both assault. His sentencing has been postponed until April of this year, but was supposed to be for this month. Since his arrest, he has been removed from multiple projects, including the MCU. It's unclear to the public what Marvel plans to do with the character of Kang. They may choose to recast the role or possibly alter their timeline and erase Kang altogether. But one thing's for sure, we probably won't be seeing him anywhere for a while. Next up is another hit TV show star, Percy Hines White. If this name is not familiar, that might be because Percy's career was basically over before it even started. started. White was set to become a teenage heartthrob after starring in the Netflix hit Wednesday. The show released in November of 2022, but it was only a short 2 months later, in January of 2023, that Percy was cancelled after being accused of assaulting multiple girls. A user on the social media site X alleged that White, at age 17 to 20, would purposefully intimidate girls aged 13 to 16 before pressuring them into getting with him. Shortly after this user came forward, many other girls shared similar stories. It later surfaced that White was allegedly also insulting his female fan base through an X account, and video evidence of White using sensitive words was the last nail in his coffin. Percy was set to star in a film with Wednesday co-star Jenna Ortega, but it's currently unclear when or if the film will ever make it to the silver screen. Similar to Jonathan Majors, it's currently not known if White's character in Wednesday will be recast or written off. With a hopeful season 2 release date of late 2024 or early 2025, fans of the mysterious and macabre should be expecting confirmation soon. Ever since the infamous Oscars slap, Will Smith's career has taken an intense nosedive. Once a coveted actor starring in hits like Men in Black, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and The Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith now seems to only show up in headlines. With the new projects attached to his name, it seems like Smith is taking a backseat for some, working in more behind-the-scenes roles like a producer, while the films in which he is a lead actor for aren't receiving the praise they once did. Box office lows are not the only repercussions from the 2022 Oscars. Will Smith received a 10-year ban from attending the event. The whole reason everything happened was because Chris Rock made a joke at the Oscars about Jada Pinkett Smith's shaved head. Jada has a hair loss disease called alopecia, so it was an unwelcome joke, which is why Will walked up there and started yelling after. However, at the end of last year, Jada is promoting her memoir Worthy. She reveals that at the time of the slap, her and Will had been separated for 6 years, and that definitely makes the whole situation a tiny bit worse. Even though it's been about 2 years since the slap heard around the world, Will Smith is still not in the public's favor and therefore not at the top of any casting list. Ariana Grande is a tricky case. Right now, she is in a lot of hot water due to her relationship with Ethan Slater. The pair met on the set of the Wicked movie, her as Glinda and him as Bach. At the time of filming, both were married and he had a young child. Both parties insist that they didn't get together until after leaving their partners. However, the messy timeline of it all makes it seem suspicious. Filming officially wrapped this January and started way back in December of 2022. Grande had apparently split from her husband in January 2023, and she and Ethan were reported to already be together in March. However, in May, Ethan posted a tribute to his wife on his Instagram account. By July, Ethan and his wife have allegedly split and Ariana is now fully in the picture. After July, the pair are seen out together in Disney World, at Slater's Broadway shows, and out to dinner in New York. People have been trolling this couple for months, and with Wicked releasing later this year and a press tour on the horizon, that likely has no end in sight. Ariana recently released a song called Yes And that is doing pretty well, but lots of people find some of her lyrics to be in poor taste as they are referencing her relationship with Ethan. So even though she has a highly anticipated movie and album releasing later this year, the messy details of her personal life are slowly dimming the spotlight surrounding the star. Doja Cat was on top of the world for a while there, but now seems to have fallen off, and it's not the first time. Back in 2018, she was exposed for some homophobic tweets she'd made in 2015, and if you're sitting there thinking that was so long ago, don't worry, her apology was worse than the tweet was. The original tweet was a slur, and then she defended herself by saying she uses the slur all the time, and just because she uses it doesn't mean she hates gay people. Okay, she re-apologized after that one. It's unclear if Doja Cat wants to be famous. On some of her Instagram lives and social media accounts, she has shown her upset at fans enjoying her music. Most people don't like being told that what they enjoy sucks, but most fans aren't usually told that by the person who made the thing. Doja fans didn't take it well, and the singer lost almost 500,000 followers. Doja Cat also poked fun at her devoted fan base by making fun of the name they chose for themselves, which is Kittens. Fans were quick to point out to her that you shouldn't bite the hand that feeds you. Matt Rife, if you haven't heard, is very much out. He was a super popular comedian that initially rose to fame on the popular social media app TikTok, and then received a Netflix special premiering in November of 2023. That's where the trouble started. His special, Natural Selection, opens with a joke about domestic violence. No thanks. Yeah, that so-called joke didn't go over well with the internet, with many people asking why Matt felt the need to be punching down instead of up. His apology for the joke was shocking, to say the least. On his Instagram story, he posted the text, "If you've ever been offended by a joke I've told, here's a link to my official apology," beside a link that read, "Tap to solve the issue." The link was not to a genuine heartfelt apology, no, it was to a health website, specifically to a page where you can buy special needs helmets. Why? As this was unfolding, there were a bunch of people online weighing in on the issue. One was a little 6-year-old boy who just said that Matt was mean to girls, and Matt decided this little boy was who he wanted to go up against and commented, "Santa Claus isn't real. Your mom buys you presents with the money she makes on OF. Good luck." The comment was deleted, but screenshots live forever. Somehow topping Matt Rife's disaster of an apology is Colleen Ballinger on the ukulele. That makes the list for top 10 sentences I never thought I'd say. Colleen was really popular YouTuber from about 2010 to last year, really. She had a Netflix special too, and her channel was mainly known for posting videos using the character Miranda Sings. The Sings persona is a satire of bad singers with big egos. The irony. The character was super popular and her career took off. She was most popular with preteens and teenagers. As early as 2020, allegations were coming out about Colleen creating inappropriate relationships with fans, but everything really came crashing down in 2023. More allegations were coming out, screenshots were being shared, and pretty soon Colleen's live shows and podcasts were being cancelled. This is very serious stuff, and Colleen decided best way to address it was on the ukulele. While singing, she reveals that she was advised by her team not to speak on the issue, but they didn't say she couldn't sing. The video wasn't received well. A few months later, she posted another apology for the song. This time, that one was just talking. She's still vlogging, just not to as big of an audience, and there are no live shows on the horizon for her. She may be difficult, but boy can she sing. Not talking about Colleen anymore, we are moving on to Lea Michele, the Fanny Bryce of Broadway, the Rachel Berry of Glee. She has got quite the reputation. She allegedly made life on the set of her shows difficult, allegedly bullying castmates and threatening to file someone's wig. Fortunately for Lea, she has an incredible voice and a pretty iconic past role, so when it came time to stunt cast Funny Girl on Broadway, top choice. She can sing the role super well, plus her character in Glee was zeroed in on playing Fanny Bryce, so why not bring that into real life? For full circle moments, sell tickets. It seems like the next steps for Lea Michele will be onto another Broadway stage instead of back to the silver screen, which makes sense. Many former cast members from Michelle's Glee days have come forward to express how inappropriately Lea behaved on set, so I don't find it hard to believe that she's not being seen on any more of them. Back in the spring last year, she teased that she knows what her next Broadway project will be, only there hasn't been any more info since May or June, so no one is currently sure what's happening there. The story that still shocks me to my core is that of Armie Hammer. He was really on track to making it big. He was in the smash hit film Call Me By Your Name and had the Hollywood star look. Why, oh why, did he have to, trigger warning, enjoy people on plates? Yeah, I don't think anyone wants to go within a 100-foot radius of this man, let alone working closely with him on a film set. Ever since the allegations surfaced in 2021, this man has rightfully not known peace or been seen on the screen. It wasn't just the enjoyable thing that he was accused of, but also just general abuse towards his partners, multiple partners. This all makes my skin crawl, I hate it so much. Probably the strangest bit of dark humor from 2022, a year after the allegations, was the film Bones and All. So Call Me By Your Name starred Armie Hammer, Chalamet, and was directed by Luca Guadagnino. Armie's condition is revealed in 2021, and then the next year, a film is released about his condition, directed by the man who made Armie's most notable film and starring his former co-star. I wish I could have seen his face when he found that out, but I think I'm done with this one. I seriously might throw up. Kanye West has been on the sidelines of Hollywood for a while now. There is no denying the man's talent and musical ability, but he is yet another example of an artist's personal life and choices hurting their career and making people touch them with a 10-foot pole. The downfall started a long time ago, but some highlights in Kanye stating that slavery was a choice, his anti-Semitic remarks, and recent album controversy. His anti has led to him being banned from various social media sites and even streaming platforms. Kanye recently released his new album and it was apparently pretty hard to get out there. Kanye allegedly went to multiple distributors and was repeatedly turned away. The new album, Vultures 1, features many, just horrible lyrics, but a large reason as to why it was pulled is because of copyright infringement. Kanye requested permission from multiple artists to sample their tracks for his new album. Upon receiving many no's, he did it anyway. Most people said no because they do not want to be associated with all the negative things Kanye has said and done, so when the album dropped, they were quick to complain and get the songs removed. The album is back up currently, so we'll see how long it lasts.
First up, Jada's cheating past. While on a break with husband Will Smith, Jada decided to find another lover and found R&B singer August Alsina, who was 23 at the time when Jada was 45. 4.5 years ago, I started a friendship with August and we actually became really good friends, she said on an episode of Red Table Talk, and it all started with him just needing some help, me wanting to help his health and his mental state. But a Hollywood actress close to the couple told the Post in 2020, quote, Jada said she was mentoring him. She did not help him. She helped destroy him. The fans were furious when they found out that Jada was the reason Jaden started substances, let's call it. Jaden Smith spoke at a conference about substances and seemingly admitted that his mother was to thank for their use in his family. After Pop Crave shared that Jada had reportedly introduced her Hollywood famous family to drugs, many fans used the outlet's Twitter thread to criticize her actions. One person slammed by saying, "Unserious family. She gotta be the worst mom in the world. Why this family is so weird? Like I've never seen one normal headline about them," a second asked. Jada was also exposed for supporting her husband Will Smith after he slapped Oscars host Chris Rock on stage. Jada Pinkett Smith, who has been married to Will for nearly 25 years, finally broke her silence on the altercation months after the Oscars incident in June 2022 on an episode of her Facebook Watch series Red Table Talk. "My deepest hope is that these two intelligent and capable men have an opportunity to heal, talk this out, and reconcile," she said at the time. "The state of the world today, we need them both, and we all actually need one another more than ever." She also noted that she has Will's back in the aftermath of the scandal, adding, "Until then, Will and I are continuing to do what we have done for the last 28 years, and that is to keep figuring out this thing called life together." The View talk show panelist ripped into Jada for her candid interviews and tell-all memoir that detailed her struggling marriage with Will Smith. The Matrix Reloaded actress Jada recently revealed that she had been separated from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air star since 2016, but she still considers him, quote, her life partner. "I actually love celebrity gossip, you guys know it, but this couple, everything I know about them is like against my will," Alyssa Farah Griffin said on October 17th on The View. Alyssa noted that while she may make fun of her own husband, Justin Griffin, there is still a fine line in their marriage. "We all share about our personal lives, but I would never say something that humiliates, demeans, or shames my husband," she explains. "What I think has been hard to watch, and I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt, I think she's probably somebody who processes things by talking them out, and she's chosen to do it in the public eye, unfortunately. But what she's missing is taking care of her partner and father of her children, who you see the pain on his face in these interviews," she continued, noting that while she's a huge fan of Will Smith, she still believes the separated couple still have an unhealthy dynamic. However, co-host Sunny Hostin reminded the View panel that Will already admitted to approaching marriage very differently from his former partner. She had experience in her family open marriages, Hostin said, whereas in his family, he saw it as a much more traditional way, but he loved her so much he was willing to change for her. Joy Behar interrupted to add, quote, "But you can love somebody a lot and not allow them to emasculate you. You have to stand up for yourself." Fellow panelist Sarah Haynes also pointed out that Jada wanted to keep her promise of never getting a divorce, and yet she doesn't refer to Will as her husband. They no longer live together and they are romantically involved with other people. Their kids are hurting, but they're going to call it a not broken promise when you broke every promise along the way, she said. Jada is also known to be vicious to Will's ex-lovers. Jada spoke about a woman who had stepped over a boundary when it came to her husband on an episode of her show Red Table Talk. I might have gotten a little hostile where I felt like people stepped over a boundary and they were disrespectful, Jada said during a conversation with Ayesha Curry and her family. The actress continued saying, "I know who I am, and more importantly, he knows who I am." Right? Jada's mother, Adrienne Norris, then said the responsibility is more on the men. Jada agreed and added, "I think also you need to have an internal space of confidence. At the end of the day, that's part of it." Another embarrassing Jada moment is the infamous Stephen Colbert interview. Stephen Colbert interviewed Jada about her memoir, and it was, let's just say, awkward. In one segment of the interview, Jada noted that the Oscars brought her and Will closer together, to which Stephen replied, "Really? That helped? How so?" Jada Smith also confessed that she, quote, really did not want to get married to Will. In fact, the actress admitted to crying down the freaking aisle, she says, before tying the knot with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air star on New Year's Eve 1997. "I was under so much pressure, being a young actress, being young, and I was just pregnant, and I didn't know what to do," declared Jada. "I never wanted to be married." Pinkett Smith candidly recalls her mother, Adrienne Norris, also known as Gammy, forcing her daughter and Will to wed after she became pregnant with their first child together, now son Jaden. "I really didn't want to get married," she says, while seated around a circular table with her mom as well as Will and their daughter Willow Smith. "We only got married because Gammy was crying," a chuckling Jada informed her daughter Willow. "I do remember wanting you and Will to get married, but I don't remember your rejection of the idea of marriage," her mom added. "I remember the rejection of the idea of a wedding, but never of a marriage." Jada then recalled being browbeaten into big day submission. And now Gammy gone to Will crying about, "I don't want a wedding, and now I'm being forced to have a wedding," she says. "I just wanted it to be the two of us on a mountain because I was like, this is serious business." Will Smith gave a stern warning to his wife Jada, saying, quote, "Don't use me for clout," in a resurfaced 2019 video that was going viral on social media. The 49-second clip, which was initially filmed by Jada on her Instagram Live, has clocked thousands of views on Reddit since it popped up in the wake of Smith's assault on Chris Rock at the Oscars 2 years ago. Jada initially made the video to promote her chat show Red Table Talk, with the vision showing her state, "You know, our therapist, Esther Perel, is coming to the table. She's gonna be at the red table," she says. She then flashed the camera to her husband and asks, "Would you say she's been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?" Will looks extremely irritated in the video and responds, "I would say don't just start filming me without asking me." Jada seemingly brushes off her husband's request, telling viewers that she is, quote, "still dealing with his foolishness." She then continues to probe her movie star spouse, saying, "Would you say she helped us heal the hurts that we caused between one another?" The continued questioning is clearly frustrating Will, who snaps back saying, "My social media presence is my bread and butter, so you cannot just use me for social media. Don't just start rolling. I'm standing in my house. Do not start rolling." Next up, let's talk about Jada oversharing about not only Will Smith, but her kids as well. "I knew the night that Jaden, her son, lost his virginity," she says. "I had a moment with Trey in the kitchen where I looked at Jaden and I said, 'You've done it.' And he ran into the bathroom. I was like, you don't have to be embarrassed." She also revealed on her talk show that she cried of sadness when she found out that she was pregnant with him. Yikes. "I was under so much pressure being a young actress, being young, pregnant. I was just like, I don't know what to do." Lastly, let's discuss that infamous Will Smith Oscar slap once again, and let's see what celebrities had to say about it. Mila Kunis told C Magazine in 2022 that she was stunned that so many people in the audience at the 2022 Oscars stood up when Will Smith won his Oscar after he already slapped Chris. Not standing up to me was a no-brainer, but what was shocking to me was how many people did stand up, she says. I thought, wow, what a time we're living in that rather than do what's right, people focus on doing what looks good. It's insane to me. Sharon Osbourne also shared her thoughts on the slap in an April interview a month after the awards with the Sunday Times. When he wins the Best Actor award, everybody stands up, she says. It's like you're such hypocrites. You're gonna go home and say how disgraceful his behavior was, but you stand up and give him a standing ovation. First off, we have Jennifer Lopez. When asked to appear in a video for a charity song benefiting African AIDS program in 2001, J-Lo agreed, but only under the right conditions. In exchange for her 90 minutes of work to make the video, she wanted a trailer where everything had to be white, including the flowers, curtains, and even the candles. The star also wanted Cuban food, which she reportedly then didn't eat. What's more, the rider included requests for chocolate chip cookies and pie a la mode, but absolutely no tomato, apple, or grape juice. Odder still were the entertainment requirements, which demanded an assortment of music that included Mark Anthony and Matchbox 20. That honestly doesn't surprise me too much, since J-Lo is known for being a diva, one time even replacing a $100 tip her husband put down for the waitress, switching it with a $5 bill. Next up, we have Van Halen. Throughout the 80s, Van Halen had a provision tucked away in their rider. A rider is a set of requests or demands that a performer sets as criteria for performances. And their rider said that backstage bowls of M&Ms couldn't contain any brown ones. On its face, the request sounds really ridiculous, but as all M&Ms taste the same, regardless of color. However, this request was really a clever ploy devised by lead singer David Lee Roth, who wanted to test how committed the promoter was to details. Before the show, Roth would check the M&M's bowl, and if there weren't any brown ones, he'd know it was safe to go on stage. But seeing brown M&M's was a warning sign there may be unexpected trouble. Next up, we have Madonna. It should come as no surprise to anybody who's a fan of Madonna that she has extravagant taste when she goes on tour. According to In Touch Weekly, the pop diva wants to be surrounded by an entourage composed of 200 people. She wants 30 bodyguards to look over her for protection and personal chefs to make vegan food exclusively. If that already doesn't seem like too much, furniture is even moved from Madonna's house to her dressing room so she can feel more at home. Wow. Speaking of Madonna on tour, Madonna has recently been in the news. 2 New York City men sued the pop star for starting a show for her celebration tour roughly 2 hours later than the time listed on the tickets. In early January of this year, Michael Fellows and Jonathan Hayden accused Madonna, Live Nation, and the area venue of, quote, unconscionable, unfair, and deceptive trade practices by listing 8:30 p.m. as the start time. The pair also took issue with the show reportedly ending around 1 a.m., which allegedly posed a greater problem for them as they, quote, had to get up early to go to work and take care of their family the next day. Madonna was criticized on social media and by other celebrities following news of the lawsuit, with the ladies of The View talk show taking aim at the singer-songwriter amid the legal development. I personally wouldn't wait 2 hours to get a hot oil massage from George Clooney, much less a concert by anybody, Joy Behar said, while Sarah Haynes added that it was disrespectful to Madonna's fans. Next up, we have Katy Perry. Katy Perry knows what she wants, and it shows in her 45-page rider. Among the things listed on the rider are French lamps, a director's chair with her name on it, a total absence of carnations, and someone whose sole task is to prepare cut-up fruits and vegetables. But what stands out as the most extreme provision in the rider is that the singer reportedly doesn't want anybody who works in her staff to say a word to her before a show, especially not the chauffeurs. So, if you got into the service business on the off chance you could one day mingle with Katy Perry, don't get your hopes up. Our next diva celeb is Justin Timberlake. Pop star and actor Justin Timberlake is one of several celebrities who appear to be very conscious about health and germs, as he requires that somebody goes around and disinfects every single doorknob backstage and at any hotels that he stays in every 2 hours. hours. In addition to this, JT is also known to request that he does not have to share the elevator with anybody when on tour or even at a party, presumably so he doesn't have to make any small talk or have an awkward silence. To top it all off, Timberlake also insists that he and his entourage get the entire floor to themselves at hotels while on tour so they can have some wild parties. Justin has been in the tabloids recently for his rude remarks about ex-Britney Spears, who he reportedly cheated on. Timberlake performed a free one-night-only concert on Wednesday, January 31st in New York City to mark his 43rd birthday. In a clip posted to social media, Timberlake took a break from singing at one point in the evening to speak directly to the crowd. "I'd like to take this opportunity to apologize to absolutely effing nobody," he said into the microphone as the band played the musical accompaniment of his Jay-Z collab Holy Grail in the background. One of the most successful female artists of all time, Mariah Carey, is also known to be quite the diva, which is reflected in her long rider. She has previously required an attendant whose only job was to dispose of her gum, and she has also insisted on her dressing room being 75 degrees with a lamp or clip light and 24 white roses, as well as fully stocked crystal champagne complete with bendy straws. Her most famous request, however, is one which we can understand, but logistically must be an absolute nightmare for promoters to arrange. Before going on stage, Mariah wants her dressing room filled with puppies, rabbits, bunnies, and any other soft animal, which she states helps to calm her nerves. In recent years though, Carey has reportedly put her diva days behind her and has a much more modest rider. Beyonce demands her dressing room be kept at 78 degrees and asks for chicken legs, quote, heavily seasoned with cayenne pepper and rose-scented candles, and don't have Coca-Cola products anywhere near Beyonce as she only drinks Pepsi. Here are some of the demands. 1 large table for catering dressed with white tablecloths. 4 brand new white towels in the bathroom, 2 for the face and 2 for the body. Hot food includes juicy baked chicken, legs, wings, and breasts. Please season with fresh garlic, seasoning salt, black pepper, and cayenne pepper. Steamed garlic broccoli, lightly seasoned green beans, lightly seasoned steamed spinach. 1 case of Aquafina water, half cold, half room temperature. 1 hot tea, sliced lemon wedges, rose-scented candles, a lighter for candles, and a CD player. Our next diva superstar is Rihanna. The singer insists on blue or black drapes layered with, quote, icy blue chiffon. Rihanna also needs an animal print throw rug and has a very specific candle request. Here are some of the demands on the rider. 5 AC power outlets, adequate lighting for a, quote, relaxed atmosphere, white drapes to cover lockers and or brick. 1 humidifier, 1 large throw rug, plush and animal print, cheetah or leopard. It must be clean as she will walk on it barefoot. 6 candles, 4 small clear square vases with white tulips, no foliage. Second choice, if you can't get the tulips, white Casablanca lilies. Third choice, if you can't get those, white freesia. When Britney Spears performed in London's the O2 Arena in 2011, she demanded a feast of McDonald's bunless cheeseburgers along with 100 figs and prunes, so she could feel like she was getting the full London experience. She also ordered fish and chips with a framed photo of Princess Diana on the side. Yes, she reportedly ordered a framed photo of Princess Diana to be displayed in her dressing room at the venue. The UK publication The Daily Mirror reports, quote, Britney adores the monarchy. Diana was in many ways her inspiration. Perhaps it's because Britney can relate to the superstar loneliness paradox, that feeling of being famous but also trapped. Britney Spears has even admitted that fame made her feel like she was, quote, living on the edge of a cliff. In the first preview of her memoir, The Woman in Me, the pop star opened up about her early years in the spotlight. I envy people who know how to make fame work. Britney was always saying she just, quote, wanted to be normal, but her level of fame at the time precluded her from any semblance of normality. She felt, in effect, trapped, says her former makeup artist. Our final celebrity is the #1 celeb of the year, Taylor Swift. First, make sure if she's arriving before 11 a.m., you've made a pit stop to Starbucks. Here are some of the demands she requires. If arriving before 11 a.m., the following from Starbucks: 1 grande iced caramel crema latte with 2 sweeteners, also 1 grande iced Americano with 2 sweeteners, soy milk, and 1 slice of pumpkin loaf, 1 stick of butter, 3 boxes of Kraft mac and cheese, 2 4-packs of Red Bull, 1 12-pack of Corona, 1 12-pack of Newcastle beer, 1 bottle of Welch's grape juice, 1 avocado, 1 bag of Twizzlers licorice, 1 case of Smart Water, 1 pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream, 1 pint of Ben & Jerry's chocolate brownie frozen yogurt. Another thing the pop star demanded was that regular tickets for the Eras Tour concert film be priced at $19.89, a cheeky reference to her re-recorded album 1989, Taylor's version. That sounds all too well and good until it's noticed that AMC typically charges an average of $14.89 for an adult ticket, meaning Taylor Swift is demanding her fans pay more than 30% markup price to see her movie, basically to honor an album that they'll likely be buying for the second time.